Hello, welcome to Showboys. My name is Mike. Here we are back another Thursday, another episode for you guys. I'm joined by my lovely panel of cohorts here. Pixel Nick, how are you doing tonight? Yeah, I said cohorts on purpose. I didn't misspeak and mispronounce
I think that's a
co-hosts.
misspoke. We're not individually cohorts, but
we cohorts?
we are collectively a cohort. But
There you go. There you go. How are you doing tonight, Nick?
I'm doing good. I'm amped up. I had like some Wingstop, got some lemon pepper wings in me. So I'm feeling good.
Nice.
Feeling good.
Chad's here. How you
Chad's
doing,
here.
my dude?
I'm here, and I ironically have lemon pepper wings in my stomach as well.
What?
So, yeah, I know.
That's my
This is very
dude.
peppery
Simulation.
side of the screen.
Pepper
here.
Just
Lemon.
living in a simulation is all we're
Lemon
doing
pepper.
here.
Yep. Dad is also here. He's no longer behind the scenes. He's on the screen.
They've allowed me to come on the screen.
Yes.
He's in the
yes.
scene.
I'm in the scene.
Wow.
He is a snob.
Oh, dang it! You took it right out of my mouth.
Yes, but yeah, we're back here. We have the next rendition here of the Showboys March Madness. Oh, hey, Joe's here. Lovely. Where's the lovely?
Ouch.
It's right here in the chat. You, my friend, you're here.
Open your eyes.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for joining us tonight. But yes, we're here. We are about to start round 2 of the March Madness, the Showboys March Madness original streaming service series tournament. Yeah, really butchered that, but you get the idea. We did round 1 last week. It was really fun. We plowed through 32 matches in one episode. We got a few less matchups to get through tonight, but these are going to be a little more contested, a little more discussion going on with these, especially as we get into round 3, because we're doing rounds 2 and 3 tonight in one episode, because you know what, there's 6 rounds of the tournament and only 5 Thursdays in March, so we had to stick a double round in there somewhere. But yes, before we get into it, thank you to our top tier patrons, Joe C, Yusuf H, Tim B. You guys rule. All of our other patrons, you guys also rule. We appreciate your support. It means a lot to us, and thank you so much. If you're interested, want to know what our Patreon's all about, or what Patreon is all about in general, head over to patreon.com/showboyspodcast, and you can learn more. And if you're feeling, spunky, sign up and help us out. We got cool perks, one of which includes bonus episode every month, exclusive to Patreon members. So go check it out, sign up, and we would appreciate it. And thank you for your support, guys. But starting off here, let's just go over the rules again. We have our criteria here. We will be hitting these 5, sometimes 6 categories, being story, just being the overall quality of the story and how it's utilized in the series, the characters, the aesthetic, the world building, the cultural impact, and then, of course, the bonus category of music. And our rules for round 2 here, each match will be deliberated by the entire panel of hosts, being the 4 of us here. Each series will be judged using the criteria that we just showed. We will be going the same way we did in round 1, where we will be using the poll as the driving force, and then if we don't agree with the poll, we have to convince 2 of the 3 other panel members to change their minds and vote against the poll. We will remove personal bias as much as possible through these matchups and try to analyze these shows objectively. And lastly, you got to subscribe to Showboys Podcast and our gaming channel, Showboys Gaming on YouTube. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers so we can give away an OLED Switch.
That's right.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And we're going to start off, we're going to go in reverse order this week. And we're going to start off with our lovely producer, Dad. We're going to start off with Dad. Matchup 1. Take it away, sir.
Okay. As you can see on the screen, we've got Severance versus Only Murders in the Building. I've seen both of these shows. They are fun.
Did you end
Crazy.
up finishing The Only Murders in the Building?
No.
Okay.
But it's good. I did like it. There's a lot of shows that I had to watch, It's
Yes,
hard to
yes.
keep up, and after a while, they kind of start to blend together. Especially if you're watching
They're all the same.
16 shows,
Yeah.
pretty soon, you have an office full of, Canadian people like Letterkenny. So could you imagine?
Such a bizarre turn that conversation took. But yeah, continue.
So you've got Severance, which is your, I'd say, office horror.
Office horror.
Yeah.
Not something you hear every
I could
day.
agree with that.
Kind of weird, you guys got to watch that show. It's so good. And then Only Murders in the Building. It's about, ironically, murders in a building, in an apartment building in New York. Like I said, I like both of them. I have a clear winner in my mind. If you guys are interested to know what I think.
Yeah, let's hear the poll
yeah.
results first. But I think I know where you're leaning, but I'm interested to see
course you
where
do.
the poll leans.
The poll leans in favor of Severance with 10 votes.
That's right.
Nice.
Murders in the Building, only 7. So
So how many?
That
How
was still
many?
kind of close.
How many total votes did we get this in round 2?
17.
Wow, 17. Dang,
That's
in
not
like
bad,
in like 4 days.
right?
Thank you
Maybe
guys
less,
to
yeah.
everyone who voted.
Thanks for the help.
Yeah, appreciate that. Glad that Severance pulled ahead because that would have my vote, and I think that's exactly where you were going.
Oh,
Jeff.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, just the
Severance.
way that it looks, sounds, tastes, feels, all that stuff is like all the
Jeff's
stuff
just
I'm looking
licking
for.
his TV screen.
That's how I know
Yeah,
it's a
Adam
good show.
Scott.
Like I wanted to lick his wounds, the Band-Aid on his forehead. I felt bad for
Oh,
him.
yeah.
The dude, my dude. Such a great show. It's gonna go far, I feel like. Like I said, Only Murders in the Building is a good show. It's just a different type of show, different
Yeah.
genre, more of a
So-
comedy, compelling characters. I did like the characters. A lot of mystery involved.
And it's
but
about podcasting, right? Don't they say
Yeah,
a podcast?
it's about like these
No,
three
that
people
wins,
being
but-
obsessed with true crime podcasts, and then a murder happens in their building, and they feel like they're detectives now. So
Yeah.
so
Naturally.
they take over, and
So are we all
Oh,
in
yeah.
agreement here with the poll then?
we
Yeah, I am.
are all
Yeah.
we are all in agreement.
All right, we got our first winner of the
The
night,
winner.
Severance, moving on to the Sweet 16. I gotta say, I'm gonna throw this out there. I might have said this last week, but for real, this might be, and this is gonna sound crazy because it's a number 1 seed, but this might be the most
Chad, give
underrated.
your mic.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry, bro. I'm sorry. When I restarted my
power
computer,
through
my
Dude,
shush,
after the fourth
turned
one, I
off.
was like, all right, dude.
Dude, I apologize.
All
Continue,
right.
Kept
Mike.
progressively
Didn't mean to
getting louder.
completely derail you.
Oh
I
my
thought
gosh!
it was like static or something.
But yeah,
So I have an app on my computer where if you push the FN key, it mutes the mic.
Mhm.
But when you restart it, it closes the app.
Oh,
So
no.
I restarted before the episode, and it was lit up right in front of my freaking
Yeah.
face.
Rip.
But I was so enticed by Mike's conversation. He was
Yeah,
having.
yeah. All I was going to say is, even though it's rated, it got a number 1 seed.
Mhm.
I think this is probably the most underrated show on the bracket. Maybe underrated is the wrong word, but like underexposed. Like not enough
Yes.
people have even know that this show exists, let alone have watched it. You need to watch it. It is
It's
an
like
amazing show.
one of my top shows for sure.
Yeah,
Top
I got to be
favorite.
honest. Like out of all the shows that I haven't seen on here that are remaining, this is like the most intriguing one to me. I think.
Severance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it just makes a strong, like not even seen the show, but like just from what I've seen of it, imagery and stuff like that, and just knowing about it, I could definitely tell like the aesthetic is cool, right? It just seems like, especially when you describe it as office horror,
Yeah.
and
that's
it's
cool.
very like minimalistic. Like
Right.
there's not
Very.
a lot going on, but like it's just enough to create tension. It's kind of crazy. Like the hallways too.
Mhm.
Like it's like a freaking maze within
Yeah.
this place.
Also, not a part of the criteria, but maybe should be. Incredible opening credit sequence. Love it. So
My favorite. So like most shows, I skip the opening.
There's
This one I
a
watched
few
every
shows
single
you
time.
don't do. You don't skip Bluey. You don't skip like Game of Thrones or House of Dragons. You don't skip The Last of Us. Rest in peace. That show should have been in the tournament, but of course it didn't start until the tournament started. So that would have been weird, crowning it as the best
The
original
winner.
series.
Dude, I gotta be
Um,
honest, man. I think it would have put up a hell of a fight, to be
Oh,
honest.
absolutely.
for sure. Maybe next year. You don't skip those opening credit sequences. You don't skip Severance.
It's so cool.
It's good. But yes, let's
Okay.
head on to match number 2 here.
So match number 2, we have Harley Quinn versus Bosch. Also another clear winner in my mind. I
Rigged.
did not biased at all, I promise. As much as I love me some Harley Quinn, swinging around that huge sledgehammer,
Ooh, slow down there, buddy.
I wasn't sure where he's going with that one.
I'm keeping it PG. Don't worry.
Mm.
But Bosch, he takes it from me. I mean, it's just he's so cool. He's so cool. He's so cool in this show. Like, just his character alone could win this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah.
See,
Poll.
what's the poll say?
Poll. This is crazy. Bosch with 11 to Harley Quinn 6.
Wow.
Oh.
And I will note that we pushed Bosch through in round 1. It had
We
a
did.
measly 12 votes to Mindhunter's 25.
Yes.
The underdog. Gotta love the underdog. It's one hell of an underdog, I gotta be honest.
It
it's,
really is.
It's easily it's top 2 police dramas that I've ever watched in my. I mean, it's not even close to any of the typical police dramas that you get, and just the cinematography, especially in the first season, is freaking phenomenal. The music is phenomenal. He's like, even in the books, he's like super into jazz, so it's used like thematically throughout the entire season, the entire show. So it's so good, dude.
The jazz was very cool.
Yeah, just that crime noir where it feels like it should be set in the like 30s or 40s, but it's not. It's modern day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact: it was a late addition to the tournament. It took the place of
What did we kick out? Yeah,
Orphan Black. We kicked
Orphan
that
Black.
one out.
There you go.
Yep.
I like to think we also made the right choice in pushing it through in round 1 because it won the vote this round.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Plus, like we said last week, one of the OGs, probably first Prime original series.
Yep. I would say it's one of its more successful shows.
Yeah,
for sure.
More
and
than,
it's there first.
Really. And it's got a freaking not a reboot, but a spinoff. Yep. And he's in that one.
Which is so cool because the spinoff is him being a private detective after he retires from LAPD, which is cool. The character's staying, but a lot of stuff's changing around him. So
yeah, that's you don't see that very often.
Yeah.
All right, matchup number 3.
We
only have 4 matchups per division in round 2, by the way, guys. So we're already halfway through Dad's matchups here.
So we got Stranger Things versus Westworld, in case you couldn't see.
Well, to be fair, we do release these audio only.
Yeah, don't be rude.
So I need you to be an audioist over there.
So for our audio people, our audio only people, we have some really cool graphics of these shows, and you need to watch on YouTube also.
Yeah, watch it on YouTube and then go back and listen to it.
Yes. Or do them both at the same time.
Subscribe.
That's true. You could do that too.
So Stranger Things.
Shocking 11 seed.
Needs no introduction.
Very shocking.
Yeah, it's very shocking. I was surprised it was so low. Probably because I had so many high-rated shows in my division.
Yeah.
Within my division, a lot of 8s. And then Westworld, like I said before, who doesn't love a Western robot show? It's good. It's fun.
I can tell you who doesn't, though. Poll does not like a Western robot show.
It's funny because Stranger Things went up against an actual Western, and then it went up against this
Oh,
yeah.
About
Western.
Western.
That's
They should have
true.
learned their lesson.
The Western killer.
They should have just
Yeah.
walked away.
I love
Forfeit.
it.
They just
Stranger Things.
throw in the
Western
towel.
Killer.
Poll sits at a strong 15 for Stranger Things against Westworld's measly 2.
Wow,
Wow.
that is a slaughter. So I mean, I
don't
think
even
we're
feel bad
all in
about it.
agreement, but just to double check, are we in favor of agreeing with the poll here?
Yes. I am.
Yes.
Yes.
So I want to say, out of your three matchups so far, for me personally, this would be the closest one. Not dogging on Harley Quinn or The Only Murders in the Building, but Westworld is a pretty, at least the first two seasons, pretty strong show, pretty great show.
Yeah. A lot of good
So
stuff in that.
not to disparage Westworld at all in any way. It just went up against an oddly seeded powerhouse. It's hard to beat nostalgia.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, like, what did you guys think about Westworld? I think we've all seen it to some degree and extent. Maybe not all 4 seasons.
No, not
Is it
definitely not
4?
all
It's
4.
4 seasons, right?
I think it's
And-
4.
I believe it's 4 seasons. Yeah, I think it's really good. It just, I don't know, it just didn't hold my attention like it should have, knowing the
Yeah.
story, knowing what it's about. And the first season I thought was great. It was cool seeing the Shogun world in whatever season 2 that was, the
I just need to
samurai.
go watch that. That sounds
It's
awesome.
cool. Yeah, you can just find it's really short. They go there briefly, so you can like YouTube the scenes from it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a super cool show, but it definitely had like a consistency issue where, every time I would return to it, I really just did not have any idea what was going on, like in the story or really what was going on, versus Stranger Things, a little bit more digestible, and just a
Yeah.
little bit more captive to a wider audience. Westworld did always feel like that niche, like I have HBO, so I'm definitely going to watch Westworld kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for us, probably Stranger Thing kind of fits in that nostalgia area a little bit closer
Yeah.
than really anything else on the show. We all grew up probably in the early 90s, some of us maybe in the late 80s. So that's kind of the selling point for Stranger Things. Like if it was set in modern day, I'd be like, meh,
Right.
it's all
Yeah.
right. But just
There's-
having all that stuff is really cool.
There's something special about the 80s for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the
Indeed.
next one. Best decade. We need to do like a stack rank,
Yeah.
power ranking of the best decades.
Perfect.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, we're zipping right along, and now we are on to the final matchup of
Whoa.
round 2 for Division Dad, a slugfest here. The boys taking on Jack Ryan.
So, like Mike just said, we have the boys against Jack Ryan. Totally different shows. It is hard to, not necessarily in this case, but like some shows, it's hard because if you have two shows that are in different genres and they're both great, how do you pick a winner? Like, I mean, it's supposed to be unbiased, but like I have, shows I like to watch and shows I don't really like to watch. So it's easier for me to decide. However, in this case, I do enjoy both of these types of shows. So I started Jack Ryan first. Loved it. Loved the show. It's great. Then I started watching The Boys. Totally different story.
Come on, it's one of those first 10 minutes, like it's gonna grab you, or it's
But
not.
well, yeah. I mean, literally, like, yeah, it had me right away.
This is awesome.
But like,
Or Robin.
that's rip. That part was so incredibly done. Oh, it was so good. Anyway, like that's how I kind of, for me, like that's the mark of a good show. If like I can't put it down, like if I can't stop watching it, like
Mhm.
The Boys, like I'll stay up past midnight watching it. It's so good. It has my attention.
Mhm.
Not to say Jack Ryan didn't, but definitely not as much. Although I do like that type of show. It's good.
Yeah.
So what does the poll say?
Yeah. Well, before the poll, I just want to say, like The Boys, something like that, like the concept of it, it's really easy to mess up the aesthetic of a show like that, but it like remains hyper polished all the time. There's rarely a moment where it's like, ugh, like that's a miss, right? It's just super polished and consistent the
It's
whole
very
time
consistent. Yeah.
while doing super wacky stuff all the time, right? So maintaining that like seriousness with that level of just creativity is impressive.
I would say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, keep going.
I would say, as far as like in its genre, probably one of the top shows I've seen.
Mm.
Whoa, taking
just-
on the superhero genre, big
Just
time.
well done. So well done.
Just wait till you get to the first episode of season 3.
Yikes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. So
Favorite-
wait, you haven't read the poll yet.
Yeah, I haven't read the poll.
God.
Boys wins 12 to Jack Ryan's 5.
I
Sad.
think it's unanimous across the
Womp.
board. We are all in
Womp.
agreement, I believe.
Dude, can I just say I love Butcher?
Oh, Butcher.
Dude, he's legendary.
Dude, his accent is amazing. I mean, it's his actual accent.
Yeah.
Just the way he says certain words. It's
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
dude. I have a nice oh geez, I almost ripped my headphones off my head. I have a nice little section of the Funko Pop shelf back there, dedicated to the boys, and the Butcher's up there, man. He's one of my faves.
So,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is just an phenomenal show from the minds of Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, I think, who, of course, behind movies like Superbad and the likes. They also did a great show based off of a comic by the same author of the comic that The Boys is based off of, called Preacher, that was on AMC.
yeah.
Equally
Oh, yeah.
as out there and wacky.
Wasn't what's his face in that too? Butcher?
No.
I thought
No, his name is Dominic something or other. Let me look him up. He's been in a lot of things.
The only thing I remember him from is from the Need for Speed movie. I think he was in.
Dominic Cooper is his name. I could see the similarity between him and Carl Urban. But yeah, if you like The Boys, you probably would like Preacher as well. So
let's give it up for Jack Ryan. And though, I mean, I definitely want to watch that show. From a show like I did have an interest in watching this, I've been convinced that I need to at least give it a try.
He's so convinced that he just cannot
He's just
contain his
can't.
excitement and just, man, just all right, so we're moving on to Division. Chad. So yeah, my dude, take it away.
Yeah, so surprisingly, number 1 seed here of Fleabag.
Surprisingly,
It's got some high ratings for whatever reason. Like I said earlier, I watched the first episode of this, just not my cup of tea. And unfortunate for it, it's going up against my cup of tea,
Right?
which is House of the Dragon. So, I mean, we can really probably barrel through this one. I don't think we can go right to the polls if I'm being
It's like
honest with you.
it's like a
Easy.
bludgeoning at this point.
Yeah.
I definitely disagree. I think no, yeah, never mind. You said House of the Dragon. I agree. Do you want to hear the poll?
No, I mean you can
That's
you can
ruthless.
say the poll. I honestly couldn't tell if you
13 for
read
House of the
the
Dragon.
poll or not because of
Yeah, your
how
mic is so
fast your
wacky,
mic
bro.
is going right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Here we'll get
Also,
more into.
hey, by the way, there was an error there on the overlay. It was actually going up against Outer Range. Does not change the result though.
What?
Did I move out of range forward?
I think that's what the
Okay.
sheet says.
I have Fleabag in the poll.
Oh, really?
I don't know if we overturned that, but
Well, I think regardless, either show would lose.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
So
It's a,
we'll have to go back and listen, but it doesn't matter because House of the Dragon.
It
won.
doesn't matter.
yeah, House of the Dragon's gonna blow 'em out of the water.
All right. What was the poll, by the way, Nick?
It was 13 for House of the Dragon.
Oh, nice. Welcome back to
That's
the.
it? Nothing for Fleabag?
4.
Oh, okay. Usually you say both of them, and I just thought, wow, man,
It was so bad it didn't even matter.
it's so bad it didn't even matter. Let's move on here. This one is going to be a little bit tougher for me personally. We have Daredevil and The Bad Batch. Now, I hold both of these series pretty dear to my heart, near and dear to my heart. For my money, unfortunately, Daredevil's going to take it. I mean, I've talked at length about how much I love Daredevil and all the reasons I love Daredevil. But Bad Batch is cool because it's taking something that was extremely popular and did a really good job filling in kind of the gaps throughout the Clone Wars. And I think, and out of the people that I've got to watch it that would have never watched Clone Wars, I think it makes the prequel trilogy significantly better when you go back and watch it. There's more meat behind everything that's happening if you watch the Clone Wars.
Yep.
So taking characters out of that and spinning it into a spinoff and putting it into a different era of Star Wars, I think is super cool. It's no Clone Wars. I don't think anything will match Clone Wars, but it's close. It's close. I would love to know your guys' opinions before the poll.
Yeah, let's hear Nick's opinion. I think he's probably, aside from you, the most opinionated about Star Wars on the panel, at least. I know Jordan has his thoughts and opinions, but he's not here, so we don't have to listen to those.
Is my mic broken?
No,
you
your mic's
sound
good.
fine right now.
Okay. Good. Yeah. No, I love the Bad Batch because it definitely, to me, it advances Clone Wars. At least like the larger part of Clone Wars. Season 7 Clone Wars is basically pre-Bad Batch, right? Because they get a whole 4 episodes anyways. But it just elevates the aesthetic and the polish from the Clone Wars. And like they just really know what they're doing in terms of Star Wars animation at this point, and they know what works and what doesn't. And season 2 has really been proving that this show can remain creative in what can otherwise become a mundane drag of just like a cartoon. But they've continuously been very creative, even off story episodes, which is impressive to me. So like the filler episodes are like, oh, these are good, right? Give me more filler episodes.
Yeah.
They might be better than the actual story. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the Bad Batch.
Yeah, I think there, especially like through Japanese anime with some of the bigger things, like the filler episodes are just awful. You know what I mean? Like they're just bad. That's just the way it is. And you know that going in, and you can find guides to just totally avoid all that crap if you want to watch like a big, like Dragon Ball Z. I'm sure there's guides to avoid all the filler stuff. But the filler stuff in Bad Batch and Clone Wars had filler episodes too that were really freaking good as well. So, but I do like the more condensed Rebels, not really any filler episode type of season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I've been trying to catch up on season 2. Again, just to harp on the visuals of the Bad Batch. The last episode I saw, I think it's the one where they go on like the treasure hunt with the one lady, and they go in the temple, and they kind of like it collapses in on them, and they're kind of stuck inside. The lighting with their flashlights, holy crap! Like so good. With that being said, I think I kind of struggle to get into what like even
is going on,
even the like throwaway episodes. I'm having trouble like getting hooked on the stories that they're telling. I think Clone Wars, out of the animated Star Wars stuff, Clone Wars sits atop, with Rebels very closely behind it. But then the Bad Batch is just like all right, yeah, I'll watch it when I can get around to it. And I would say out of the Star Wars shows that we've had in the tournament, this is probably number 3. Andor being number 1, Mandalorian being number 2, and then Bad Batch being the number 3 show here. But in terms of this matchup, I would probably lean towards Daredevil, just with what that show did for the superhero genre. Before The Boys came out, this was like the most mature version of a superhero show that you would get. And it was phenomenal across the board. And if this moves on, I'm sure we'll get more in round 3. We'll kind of go through each category for each show in the matchup, and we'll probably get way into the weeds of why Daredevil is so beloved by us. But yeah, I don't know, Jeff, do you have any opinions on this matchup, or are you good with hearing the poll results here?
Poll result.
Crushed. Daredevil 15. Bad
Whoa.
Batches 2.
Dang.
Wow.
I thought it would be a little
Oh.
closer.
I thought it'd be way closer, but all right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think we're
Well,
pretty much in agreement then on.
I'm
'cause
okay
That's
with
where
it.
I was leaning. Yeah.
I mean, it's fair to think it would be closer because the last poll 1, the Bad Batch won 75% of the votes.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
definitely a big flip here.
It was going up against Rami,
Yeah.
which probably nobody has watched.
Yeah.
But still, I didn't expect. I thought Daredevil would win the poll, but I did not expect it to be that big of a landslide. But are we all in agreement here? Daredevil moving forward.
Throw it up.
We are.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting really digging into the criteria, talking about this show in the upcoming matchup, which I think is going to be a very interesting one. I'm super excited to hear where Chad sits in the next round, because Daredevil will be facing up against House of the Dragon.
Woo!
So that's
buddy.
going to be interesting.
Spicy.
What may or may not be interesting to you guys is matchup number 3 in Division Chad. No shade. It's just I don't know the amount of watching either of these shows have gotten by the panel or particularly by our audience as a whole, but they're great shows. That's why they're in the tournament. So what do we got here for matchup number 3?
Yeah, so we have the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I said earlier that this is really not my cup of tea. After the first episode, still really not my cup of tea. It's a little bit more stylized than I was expecting it to be. But I'm just not a comedy guy, and I'm not really a comedy guy watching somebody do stand-up comedy. It's just not my cup of tea. The cool stuff in it is that it's set in the 50s and 60s, or somewhere in that time frame. So that if you're into that. However, on the other side we have the Queen's Gambit, and this is really, at the end of the day, not necessarily a show that I would get into, but this thing got its claws deep into me when it came out. Real deep.
Good.
It's so good. And I think it even, I can't remember, is it around the same 50s, 60s as well? Because that would be I think it might be, right?
Yeah. It's back in the day when they gave orphans tranquilizers to level their moods out. So there's a lot of great in the show. It got me slightly intrigued to learn chess. I'd never even thought about 1 second of my life learning chess, but after the show, it's like, it looks pretty cool, man.
It's so
down
much
to the
fun.
shop with me and Dad.
And there's
yes.
yeah. And there's just a lot of good here. And Elizabeth is a freaking phenomenal character. There's a lot of kind of like trippy stuff in the show as well, as she's, taking her drugs and all this stuff. So there's a lot to like. I think this is a landslide in my mind. I don't know what the poll says, but if anybody has not seen the Queen's Gambit, you should really check it out because it's phenomenal. And
I agree.
And I also want to point out, because I like one of my favorite kind of like smaller movies of all time is Rounders, which is a poker movie. And it's got kind of that vibe where they're like, doing chess games in specific different locations. So you got like the big tournaments, and then you got like the, friends playing chess, and then you got enemies playing. There's just a lot of cool, like, it just felt like rounders, the chess stuff to me, and I could always use more rounders in my life. So go ahead, poll. Sorry.
The poll, a little closer, 10-7 for the Queen's Gambit.
Wow.
Hmm.
I'm okay with that.
Same.
Sounds like the panel is as well. So Queen's Gambit moving forward. Now, how do these chess matches compare to the season 2 chess match between Mr. Robot and Elliot?
Yeah, not quite as tense, but they do have some pretty tense chess moments in this, which is shocking too, because I don't really, even though probably the whole of chess is a tense game, it just doesn't come across that because it's a board game, you know what I mean? But they make it pretty, yeah, they make some tense movements there. My man, Rounders is my number 3 movie of all time.
Ooh,
So
man,
good, dude.
it's
Such a
almost like-
good movie.
It's almost like you guys are technically related or something.
Yeah, right. Have any of you guys seen Rounders?
No,
I've never heard of it.
Oh,
I'm gonna
man.
look into it though, since you're
Yeah,
talking about it.
Matt
Yeah, great.
Damon. Who's the freaking Fight Club dude?
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. Matt Damon, Edward Norton. Such a good
Mhm.
like back alley New York City poker movie, man. Very, very good. Got some mob stuff going on in there.
Oh,
It's really
Interesting.
great.
got my
great
my
movie.
attention.
So let's go on to, I think, what is my final, correct?
Yep,
Oh boy,
yep.
this one's
For
tough.
this round.
This one, I'm interested to see where you sit with this.
Yeah, and so we have The Mandalorian and The Witcher, and I do love both of these shows. There is a clear winner in my mind, and it's probably the clear winner of everybody on the panel, I think. Although Nick did throw a little shade, I think, at The Mandalorian earlier on in the week through a text message, but he never. I don't know that you ever qualified it if it was good or bad. So because
I just said it made the tournament easier. That's
yeah,
all.
you said the first episode of season 3 made the tournament easier.
Oh, yeah, yep.
So I assume that was a bad thing, yeah.
Yeah, I was not impressed with the opener for season 3.
Nice. I can't for the life of me watch it because Disney just doesn't want to work whenever I'm available
Can
to
we
watch
just
it.
talk
So,
about that for a second?
Yeah.
Last night tried to finish catching up on the Bad Batch season 2.
Yeah.
Turn on the old TV, click on the old Disney icon, get in there, go to the Bad Batch, click resume. Error pops up. I can't
Okay.
remember exactly what the error is, but it's something about like private, like content or something.
yeah.
And
Was it
I was
like
like,
an- It has something to do with like age restriction or something.
no, it
No?
was like,
Okay.
it was
uh,
like they put the episode on there and didn't make it public.
yeah.
Oh,
But I'm trying to watch like episode 7 of the Bad Batch, which season 2 has been done for how long? And then I'm like, all right, maybe it's just a Bad Batch thing. I literally tried like 5 times, like went to my home screen because I have like a Roku TV, reopened Disney, same thing. And I was like, all right, I'll just shut my TV off, do the old, turn it off, turn it back on again. Still didn't work. And I was like, all right, maybe it's just the Bad Batch. I'll watch The Mandalorian episode 2. Nope, couldn't do that either. So I was like,
Yeah.
screw you, Disney. I'll just fall asleep on the couch, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I think like what Joe's alluding to, maybe like age restriction. You're too old, Mike, to be watching that show.
Too old. Yeah.
You, sir, I take back all the kind things I said today in your stream.
So I think that the Mandalorian is a phenomenal show. I think it's very important for Disney to have that show because I think it's their first time getting Star Wars right. I think a lot of what it does makes it feel very original trilogy. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of even Shadows of the Empire stuff in there as well with the biker gangs and stuff. So, or that might have been Boba Fett. Was that Boba Fett? Yeah, you
That's
might have
Boba
seen him in
Fett.
The Mandalorian, but
It's all the same.
Boba
Yeah,
Fett,
it's all- they all
Mandalorian,
blend together.
2.5.
yeah. So I'm definitely partial to The Mandalorian, but on the other side, The Witcher, I think this is really cool because even though it's not technically a video game adaptation, it's a book adaptation. They're not adapting the games per se. It still was kind of the first, like, okay, it's kind of the games. I mean, it's The Witcher. It's all the same universe, and they're doing a really good job with it.
Henry's Henry's Geralt is based off of the game, though, basically.
Yeah, I think it is. On top of that, I really like what they're doing with kind of building out the universe with the animated movie they had. I didn't watch Blood Origins. I'm intrigued by Blood Origins. It just got like absolutely slaughtered review wise, but it seems like something I'd be into. So eventually I'll probably get around to it. But I just like that they're building kind of this world over on Netflix revolving around The Witcher.
So true, Joe. Boba Fett did not make the bracket.
It did not.
Boba Fett was too busy sleeping in his back to tank or whatever.
Yeah.
Gotta heal up.
So I mean that's pretty much where I stand as far as both the shows go. So let's go some polls maybe.
The poll, it's clear cut, but 11 for the Mandalorian, 6 for the Witcher. So clear winner there, but Witcher had some batters out there for it.
Yeah.
I could be swayed on this, having not seen The Witcher though. But like
Same.
I said, of the Star Wars series in the tournament, Mandalorian, very important first live action series, right? So that's obviously huge, and it's done a lot of really cool things, tech wise, using the whatever it is,
the volume.
Really allows the visuals to be great, and that was like revolutionary at Disney for their stuff. But season 3, what I saw episode 1, like Nick said, it's kind of mixed bag. I wasn't as offended as Nick was with episode 1, but I could see the points. But of the Star Wars series in the tournament, like in my opinion, Andor blows this one out of the water, and unfortunately, Andor fell in a tough matchup. The Witcher, I mean, if you guys could persuade me enough, I could probably be okay with the Mandalorian not going through. But are we agreeing with the poll?
I think I'll say my piece on this. I think if The Witcher had a flawless execution, because it's not without its flaws for sure, and if it was executed just 20% better, it'd be swinging really hard. They have a lot of good things going for it, but there's also just a lot of missteps along the way.
I agree with that, and it does feel, at least throughout the first season, a little low budget, if you will. Like some of the CGI stuff is very not good looking.
Yeah,
and also we have to remember that the main character here is kind of in jeopardy as well, because he's not coming back for another season after what is it, season 3?
Yeah, season 3.
So he's being replaced by somebody else. So I feel like that's going to be real weird to have a show. Like they should just end it and maybe start up something else to go inside. Like I get they want to keep it going because they got a cash cow going here probably,
right.
But I'm not a big fan of recasting major characters. Like it was okay in Game of Thrones where you got some side characters that were recast and that stuff, but it starts to feel like a soap opera where it's like the 15th actor playing this character,
Jon Snow is all of a sudden a lot more tan.
Right.
Than
Yeah.
He's a little less snow, a little more sand.
A lot of time in Dorne or whatever. So.
Yeah. But now, or go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, but on the other side here, if anything is to be said about the Mandalorian, and I could easily argue this to like the final matchup in the whole tournament, is the Mandalorian could simply be carried on cultural impact as this show, because for whatever flaws this show might have, its cultural impact as like a smash hit for Disney, finally, right, to knock Star Wars out of the park. And really to just like, no one doesn't not know what the Mandalorian is. Like it's like really one of the first like big reemergences of Star Wars, right, in a long time. And I don't think it's hard to argue against that.
And it's also, really the first major foray into a live action series. And that was going to be hard. I mean, they could have flopped that. huge. But I do have gripes with The Mandalorian. I think
Oh,
their
yeah.
episode lengths are, I mean, it toes the line of being a web series length. You know what I mean? Where something you go to like a website to
Yeah,
watch.
some of them are pretty.
Grogu shorts.
And yeah, exactly. And there's one episode that's, the cave one is like
It's like
That one's
obnoxiously
good, though.
short.
17
It's
minutes. or
very
something.
good, but
So good though.
I'm not down with that when you're releasing these episodes weekly. I'm not. If you release the whole season, I probably wouldn't even notice that episode was
Right.
17 minutes. But now
Mm.
I waited all week to watch the 17 minutes.
20,
Now it's like, come on, man. But yeah, I don't think any of us are gonna fight tooth and nail to get The Witcher through, are we?
Nope.
Okay.
All right, so we got
Mando.
the Mandalorian moving forward,
Mando.
wrapping up Division Chad. Yeah, just looking ahead to Chad's next two matchups tonight. Man, matchup 1's gonna be tough. Matchup 2, I think, will be interesting, but not nearly as tough as the two matchups in Division Dad so far. Those are going to be really, really contested, I believe. But yes, without further ado here, we're moving on to Division Nick.
I'm not ready. I'm really not
He
ready.
wasn't ready. Oh, too bad.
Do I have to do this?
Yep.
Yes.
The
I quit.
heartbreak's coming either way.
Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, first matchup here we have Chernobyl, the sweetheart of my bracket, at least the top of the bracket, versus Succession. Right. I have my clear winner here. And I think I can make a fair case for it too, because Chernobyl, a beautifully done, polished one season hitter that was just great from beginning to end. Acting, the aesthetic was really good, and a little bit of world building there. Like, it's the period piece thing. Like, it just brings you back to it. Obviously dramatized, right? Made an otherwise probably less dramatic thing much more dramatic. But
I don't know, man.
yeah,
I don't know. I think a lot of that stuff
Nuclear
actually
fallout,
happened.
pretty
Yeah.
dramatic to me.
I
I
think
don't
that,
know.
and I think a lot of that stuff actually happened, and there's even some stuff they might have left out of it that was
Right.
even more of a shit show than what they showed in the actual series. So,
and then Succession, super successful show, many seasons, great acting, but it just, to me, just doesn't bring that uniqueness, right? It's just kind of like another, like, they're hour-long episodes. They're meant really to fill time on screen kind of thing. Like, a lot of writing goes on there. Good show, but it just isn't as special as Chernobyl. Whereas, like, Succession, you could probably replace it with a different show very similar to it and get the same thing out of it.
Yeah.
Rolling to the poll. I have that
Let's hear
power
it.
because I speak the polls. Kind of close. We Chernobyl got 10 versus Succession 7. So
Oh, wow.
definitely some
wow.
Succession fans out there, but
Interesting.
Chernobyl pulled through.
And we agree?
yes, I agree.
And
Yep.
we're gonna fight me
All
on
in
that.
favor. Yes, we are all in favor of the, of course, over exaggerated and over dramatized nuclear fallout
Yeah.
show. I just can't believe they would play it up that big, but whatever. I mean,
I will say that
drama
I'm
stuff.
proud of Chernobyl here, man, because this was a late entry as well, right?
It was.
Yeah, it's
What did it
powering
replace?
through.
Silicon Valley, I believe.
Silicon
Yeah.
Valley, yeah.
Somehow an oversight that we forgot to include Chernobyl. But of
We're
course,
idiots.
coming into play, the stipulations of what was eligible and what wasn't, we overlooked Silicon Valley. But yeah, but two of our late entry replacement shows, man. Moving on to the Sweet 16, both of them.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad. Yeah, let's head into matchup number 2 here for you, bud.
Oh, thanks so
Bud.
much, bud. So
Don't call me
Matchup number
buddy,
2 here.
friend.
we got Narcos,
Oh, damn it.
Netflix versus another Netflix hit, The Haunting of Hill House. This one, I'm just going to start off with the poll, because before the show I was saying that I have like one of the most contested brackets in my opinion. But here's the poll again: 10-7
Wow.
These
You
are
are very
mine are
close.
cutting
Yeah.
them close here.
Yeah.
The
Really?
audience is divided, but The Haunting of Hill House takes it for 10. Which I definitely can get behind that because almost the same argument I had for Chernobyl, I have for The Haunting of Hill House. Like there's something hyper special going on with that one and done season from beginning to end. Like you can't stop watching it. And luckily it's on Netflix. You don't have to stop watching it. Whereas Narcos,
Sure.
especially this first season, I would say that's super unique though. Like they do such a
is.
good job going through the life of Pablo there. Real special. Like you can't really find that many other places. But at some point it does kind of veer off into your typical police drug kind of drama back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of think where it stands out though is having the simultaneous, like the two storylines between them.
Mhm.
And, you know, I really hope that we get a Grand Theft Auto game that does something similar to this.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that that's what 6 is doing because
Narcos.
so I mean it'd be really cool. I think that's where the show stands out. And then same thing with kind of The Witcher, where they're building their Narcos universe over there with the different stories. I think Narcos Mexico is really good and it's a really good story. Obviously it's a terrible story, but executed well in the show is what I meant.
Diego Luna.
So I personally would lean more towards Narcos. I love Hill House. No denying it, but it's kind of like a one and done offshoot.
This is true.
So
this is true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Narcos is very special. If you're into that kind of stuff, like they did something very different, and especially the fact that everyone looks like they should. All this stuff is really just real life events that are just filled in the gaps that, like, obviously there weren't cameras following them around, so they don't know. So they fill in the gaps very, very creatively, right? To make sense where they go from this was all acting, and then all of a sudden, look, real footage of like exactly what that's happening that we led up to, and it's like real footage, and it gets kind of confusing in terms of how believable it is because you're like, well, it is this believable. And that's the thing with the entire narco ethos is that that's part of what's so interesting about these drug lords is like they live these lives that are literally movie scripts. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
And it's not far from the truth by any means.
Especially with the dude that like escaped out of prison, where they like somebody dug like a 2-mile tunnel down into the prison to get him. I mean, I'll always be interested in cartel stuff.
Pablo built his own prison for him to stay in.
Yeah, right. I'm definitely very intrigued with any cartel stuff. I've always been that way. And I actually gained a little bit of a respect for him this weekend when they apologized for the freaking kidnapping of the American people down in Mexico. Like that's like something that a lot of people in America could, you know, take a lesson from. Like, hey, sometimes you make mistakes and you just own them up, you know? They're like, yeah, sorry, we thought it was rival gangs. We didn't mean to kill them. So apologize.
Whoops.
We actually turned the 4 guys in. Here they are handcuffed. Like it's just such a
can't make it up.
You can't
make it up. Tough.
But let me argue because I think that The Haunting of Hill House is Flanagan's peak. Unfortunately, it was his first major series,
at least in that anthology.
Right? In that anthology. I think that's the peak out of those 3 that we discussed, or 4 now, right? So, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to fight tooth and nail for Narcos. So if you guys are, depending on what Dad and Mike want to do here,
I lean towards Hill House just because I haven't seen Narcos. But I could go either way. What was the poll again?
10 for Haunting, 7 for Narcos. What about you, Dad? Any thoughts down there?
Haunting of Hill House.
Haunting of Hill House.
Sure.
I am cracking the whip with Dad. That's why he's not being as talkative
very
right
focused,
now. He's
focus.
I've got all this work to do.
Putting together the overlays for round 3 on the
so much
fly.
for having fun. I'm over here working. I might as well be behind the freaking scenes.
Yeah, let's go faster.
Yeah, exactly. So if we could just
Faster.
Yeah, I would agree with the poll, but that's just because I haven't seen Narcos, not to
Yeah,
say
and
a worse show.
yeah, and that's maybe where I'll go with Hill House on this, because Narcos is not everyone's cup of tea, right? It's kind of a niche interest. I could never convince my wife to sit there and watch that and enjoy it or understand or care about any of that. Where like Chad and I, like we care all day and night about that stuff because it's so awesome. It's almost like a documentary. Like you learn so much, but at the same time, Hill House is just a good show that you could point anyone at and be like, you're gonna like this. You don't like horror, you're gonna like it.
Right.
So Hill House can take it.
Also,
Close C too, 4 to 5.
yeah. So we are going with the poll.
Yes.
Okay. And it should be noted, Narcos again, probably one of the original Netflix original series, all the way back from 2015.
Yeah,
right
not
up
too
there with
long
Bosch.
after Orange.
Orange is the New Black,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, Hill House, phenomenal series, and like I agree with Chad, it's probably his peak Flanagan series wise. And I also agree with Nick. This is just a really good show. You can remove all the horror aspects and still a great show. And then of course you have all the horror aspects that just adds on to it. So I wouldn't have been upset either way. But I think a good show made it through, so that's good. Let's hit up round or matchup number 3.
Matchup number 3. Oh dear. This one's
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be a tough one for you.
This
Yeah.
is gonna be tough. It is The Crown versus The Handmaid's Tale. So I've seen these both, all 5 seasons of each. Also watch them both with the wife. We both enjoy them very much. It is tough. And you know what's even tougher is the poll results.
Oh no.
I'm so glad we have an odd number of poll results, because it would have been a tie.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
Bracket's hot over here.
It is.
Dang.
I really like The Crown. It's not everyone's cup of tea. No pun intended.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Handmaid's Tale, I really like. Also not everyone's cup of tea. I know people that want to get into that, but they're just like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to be depressed.
It's a
Yeah.
tough show. It's tough to get through. I will say that.
Does Nick have the most depressing shows in the tournament with
Yes.
Handmaid's Tale and Maid?
Chernobyl.
Yeah,
Funnily
Chernobyl,
enough,
like everything, yeah.
both have Maid
Haunting
in the
of Hill
tail,
House.
or in the
Yeah,
name.
they're all dark and twisted, bro.
Narcos.
All of them Narcos. They're all
Mine are like real dramas. Like we're in
you
it
got the
over
real.
here.
Yeah, you were
Real meat
snagging
and
those
potatoes
dramas.
of TV.
Yeah,
That's what I watch. I watch the best of the best. That's where Dad says, "Calm down, calm down."
yeah.
I don't even know how to make this argument. The poll, we'll just go there. 9 for The Crown, 8 for Handmaid's Tale.
Wow,
Oh, that doesn't
closest
help.
poll so
Whoa!
far. So
Splitting hairs here,
Dang!
man.
What do you do? You
Well,
agree?
Has anyone else seen both of these?
Seen neither, so I cannot comment.
Have any of you seen either of these?
I've seen the first season of Handmaid's Tale.
Okay.
And I've also seen The Handmaid's Tale.
All of it?
No,
Oh, okay.
but that would be my pick.
Right. Yeah, that's tough. Handmaid's
I mean,
Tale.
mine would be The Crown, if I'm being honest, because I'm most intrigued by The Crown. So, Handmaid's Tale, I think, was good, but it's one of those shows that's either going to grab you, and it either does or doesn't. And for me,
Yeah.
it maybe necessarily didn't.
Yeah, and here's, I guess, where I'm currently sitting in my mind, is in terms of shows that I would like try to convince people to watch and like say like you need to watch this because you'll get something out of it. I would say The Crown versus like Handmaid's Tale. I'm not going to force anybody to watch that show. unless I really think they'd be interested. But like, I really think people should watch The Crown. Just because it's, like I've said many times in this tournament, it's way more than a show about the royal family. It's literally a piece on the passage of time. And it's a history lesson on just like the world. Like, it's crazy to see the world go through all these different stages from like this one entity's perspective. Yeah, I'm a big fan of The Crown, especially now that the last season ended with like 1995. So like now we're running like pretty current. Like, we're talking about Princess Diana stuff that's like really familiar, like in our memories.
Yeah.
I just think it's a underrated show, and a lot of people don't give it the time of day because I think they just don't understand it. Now, it is slow. It is a little bit of a drag at times, and you got to kind of like power through it. But they also do such a really good job with the writing and also the casting. This is another one where people look like the people they.
Yeah, I mean, Princess Di looks exactly.
Yeah,
like her.
that's
I,
insane.
I
It's
thought I
crazy.
actually got a picture of Princess Diana. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, wait,
Yeah.
is this a show? I don't.
Yeah.
Nice. Joe chimes in. He says it's Handmaid's Tale.
Have you seen both, Joe? That's what I need to know next.
And Reddy just wants barbecue hammer, whatever that is.
What?
That's
I like
not.
barbecue.
That wasn't in the poll, sir.
This sounds like a
Um,
cool anime name.
Yeah.
Oh, that does.
Barbecue hammer.
Oh
Some
man.
grill
Oh,
master.
geez. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I have no input in this.
Okay.
So
I've arrived at a conclusion.
Oh.
Yes.
It's in.
Joe says indeed. He's.
I
seen
got it by
both.
pigeon. The results here. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the poll, and also Chad down there, backing it up down there too. Backing it up, not quite like that, but
Yeah.
Whoa, not that kind of show, guys.
give it to The Crown. I just really like this show.
I'm
And
shocked.
Matt Smith.
I'm not. I think I think I thought this was probably going to go this way because I know you're big on The Crown. You talked about the Crown a lot throughout our companion series for Game of Thrones or
Dude,
whatever we called
You're
it.
talking about it every episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, I've also been like watching. That's like our main show I've been trying to
Yeah.
get through for the past like 4 months.
Right.
Joe says I'll change my vote if Chad backs it up.
See, it's not that kind of show, but that's what the people want.
Yeah. Hey, man. Maybe
All right.
Patreon exclusive for March.
Backing it up.
All right, last match here in Nick's division, and then we will be moving on to the final 4 matches of round 2.
Yeah, and I'm calculating the scores for the shows as they win, right, for the next round, and it's gonna be interesting. I'm glad we went with the rules we go with for the next round because shows that like did poorly both times, but versus shows that like did awesome both times, like there's a big spread on these votes, so it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Last
Joe has a phenomenal idea here. You guys should watch all of these and revisit some of these matches.
Ha!
Hey, that's a brilliant way to reuse content. I love it. I'm here for it.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Hey, the audience thought differently.
Yeah.
Poll 1.
We can't help it
Sure.
that they're wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, we could help it.
we could help
I
it.
control the clicking in here.
Yeah.
You know what? I disagree. Mike just like
Yeah.
pulls that card. The one I pushed through. Holy moly, here we are. My 4th match. And we have The Maid versus The Expanse.
Just look at that mustache.
Mine or
I mean,
Yeah.
they're
Holden's.
both
Holden's.
good,
Holden.
but look at Holden's stash peeking through there.
Yeah.
Come on. You got
I did that on purpose.
Amos's triceps right underneath.
Oh dear.
The best of both characters. You know?
Exactly.
The Maid's blankie. And
Yeah, we.
Yeah.
Part of her
Uh,
face and part of the kid's head.
I'm sad the vacuum didn't make it, but hey, you know,
You know, in the original overlay, that
it was
the
just the
picture.
vacuum.
It was. Yeah. Yeah.
I was so confused by that because I did not know there was an actual like it was a prop in the picture for the show. I didn't know that. And I was like, did they just grab a Dyson and just like,
Yeah.
do they think they're funny? I'm like, it's mildly
hey,
offensive, I think.
I mean, you brought it
It's
up, but
mildly
can I just say
offensive.
this? We were nominated in this year's Snobby Awards, right? Scene Snobs podcasting awards they do every year.
Shout out.
Nominated as the best comedy podcast, which was shocking, but thank you. Always honored to be nominated for an award, but I guess it's things like having a vacuum cleaner as the overlay image that,
Push us over the top.
Was
puts
that
us in
even-
the comedy category? I don't know.
That wasn't even live, was it?
No, it wasn't. But hey,
No.
shout out Scene Snobs.
We did see the vacuum
hopefully
cleaner
we
at some
win.
point, and it might have been when you put
It is
the winner
winner.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is not our announcement right now, but there's the
There it
Dyson
is.
in
Yes.
question right there. It is, as you see, part of the image. But let's get back to the matchup at hand here.
You only get to see
Um,
that if it wins. And it's too
yeah,
late. I
well,
guess
hey,
I already won.
I didn't know who was going to win, so I had to get it out there in case it didn't win.
True. Anyway, yeah, the Maid versus the Expanse. This one, Joe's gonna be so mad because like I haven't seen the Maid, but I've seen it in passing as my wife watched it and loved it. I love the crap out of the Expanse. She tried to watch it with me. We're big fans of the Expanse here. I believe Mike, you've seen it. Chad, you've seen it.
Yes.
Dad, you've seen it.
Of course.
Holy moly, man!
We are Team Expanse, so
Yeah.
we got to try to. This is one of those matches where we have to try to actually objectively analyze both shows.
Sure.
Of one we haven't seen, so that's
Sure.
gonna be fun.
Sure. Or we can go straight to the poll and see what the audience thought. And the audience
yeah.
thought 13 people voted for the Expanse versus Maid's 4 responses. Right.
Not surprised. I mean, considering our demographic and the
Yeah.
just lack of exposure to the Maid.
This is
but-
the Showboys tournament. Like this isn't
is.
like
This
I
isn't
don't
Joe's
know.
tournament.
yeah,
Okay.
it's Joe's tournament.
That's right. It's not the ugly kids tournament. It's the Showboys tournament.
The pretty boys.
Yeah, but much like Nick, I didn't sit down and watch like scene for every minute of every episode of The Maid, but I saw a decent chunk like passing through the room while my wife was watching it and sitting down for 10, 15, 20 minutes here or there, like eating lunch while she had it on or whatever. And what I saw was very good, but much, very fitting of Nick's bracket. Super depressing. Super depressing.
The Expanse is the least depressing show on my whole bracket, I think.
Yeah.
And it's kind of depressing because at one
has
point
its
Earth gets
moment,
hit
yeah.
pummeled with asteroids. Spoiler.
Wow, we're just going
But-
there, huh?
Yep. Watch The Expanse. It's that cool.
It's so good.
And so I just don't think we have the umph, right? Or the Maid simply doesn't have the umph because
Hold on. We gotta deal with this comment because I don't
it
believe
doesn't
it.
even make sense.
It
Joe
does.
said you suggested I watch Maid. Never suggested I was Expanse.
You
First
are
off,
expansive, buddy.
wow, that was
You were
uncalled
so
for. You take that back. You should definitely watch The Expanse. It is
Oh, crap.
Oh, for sure, Joe.
a
Yeah.
fantastic
Dude,
show. I
we
think
had a
you
whole
love it.
Patreon episode about it, and me and Mike
Yeah.
talked about it for like months.
So
Yeah,
how
we've
did you-
had
We've had like 3 episodes, and we've definitely
Yeah.
suggested you
Yeah.
watch The Expanse.
For
Yeah.
sure. Joe, are you a Mass Effect guy by chance?
it
Can't
is.
remember if you-
It's
It's
just
very,
live action Mass Effect.
dude. It's very
Holden
yeah.
is
Love it, dude.
what's his name from Mass Effect?
It's very
Yeah,
close. Yes.
it's so good, so good. That actually is the reason that I then got the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect and
Oh,
played
nice.
through 1.
I want to be Holden.
Which I need
Yeah.
to go through and finish 2 and 3. But The Expanse was what got me into Mass Effect finally. But anyways, on to the matchup. Are we agreeing with the poll? Is there much to talk about here?
I don't
Yeah,
think there
and
is,
you
yeah.
said it last round. Like, it's just unfortunate. Like, the Maid just doesn't have that much exposure, right, to a big audience. Like, I think
No.
everyone's wives on Netflix watched it. I think
Yeah.
that's really what it comes
And
down to.
I think it's another. I mean, okay, obviously The Expanse is one of those niche shows too, but I think The Maid probably even more so.
All the wives watch Maid. All the husbands watch The Expanse on
The
Prime.
Expanse. Yeah.
True. It's true.
But yeah. So we have our winner here, and again, I'm gonna say it. You should go watch The Maid because what I saw is very good. Dealt with some very serious and unfortunately common material content wise. And it's just a good a good show.
It's such a good showy.
It's such a good showy. For some reason, Bluey popped into my mind again, and I don't know why. Those two words got combined, but it's a good show. Dealing with some serious content, and it's put together, packaged up really nice, and presented very well. Great writing, great acting. Joe says, "Watch." Fight me. Maybe just assumed I'd watch it. I'm 7% mass and 4% effect.
That's funny.
Oh, Joe.
That's great.
Oh, Joe. But yes, so wrapping up Division, Nick, we have The Expanse moving on. And man, the Sweet 16 for you, my friend, is probably not going to be so sweet. More like the bitter 16.
I have to decide tonight. No.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. And let's just move right along into my division here. Wrap up round 2. We have our first matchup here. Sorry, I'm just clicking through our assets here in StreamYard. Right off the top of the bat, we have what spawned a very passionate text exchange the other day. Of course, everything leads back to Jordan. Jordan
Yes,
is always the
he was the
causation
catalyst.
All
of
Jordan's
everything.
fault.
Yeah.
But we have our first matchup here. We have The Chosen, our number 1 seed from Netflix, going up against Peacemaker, the number 9 seed from HBO Max. And I thought it was funny that Nick said we have 2 Peacemakers taking different approaches, obviously. Yeah, Joe, he gets it. He says, aren't they both Peacemakers? Yeah, just 2 vastly different approaches. Very interesting matchup. I think I would probably push The Chosen through over Peacemaker. Again, going back to a similar reason from round 1, what this show does for the genre and shows of its kind versus what Peacemaker does for the superhero genre. It's a fantastic show, and it was a defining show, live action show for DC, but not for superheroes as a whole. And in this bracket, in this tournament as a whole, I still think a show like Daredevil is above Peacemaker, and definitely The Boys is way above Peacemaker.
Yes.
So on that basis, I would push The Chosen forward. I have, some other things too, but I would be interested to hear the poll results.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we'll get to the other things if it makes it through.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were the poll results?
Poll results. This is shocking. So we're talking about 2 shows here that
I love how every time before we read the poll results, we're always like, we're very clickbaity. We're like, this is shocking.
This is
You're
shocking.
never gonna believe what
Stay
happens
tuned.
next.
And go to break.
both of these shows did very well round 1 in their
Right.
respective polls. So kind of had 2 heavy hitters going up against each other naturally. But at 11 votes, Peacemaker takes the poll against
Whoa.
Chosen at 6.
Yeah,
Wow.
not surprising in my eyes.
Not surprising, I know.
But I would like to hear, Nick, I would like to hear your opinion because you have been delving into The Chosen. You've watched 3, maybe 4?
I finished 4 episodes.
4 episodes.
Fight.
And we haven't talked about it at all. So this will be my first
4A.
hearing of your reaction to The Chosen. But Yeah, what do you think?
You want my net of it right now?
Sure.
I'll tell you right now. I think between these two,
Wait, what did you say? What did you say first? Like, it just took a minute to register.
Yeah,
like,
that was really delayed.
yeah. Sorry.
am I back?
There's something about nuts. That's all I heard.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's crazy. Anyway, no, I do like the swag Messiah, as Hans down there said. Hans.
Ready?
Swag Messiah. Oh my gosh.
No, I mean I'm really enjoying The Chosen. There's just something about seeing Swag Daddy Jesus like rolling around and like doing things. And I like seeing Romans too. Great period piece so far.
Yeah.
It took me like 2 episodes to like for things really quick. Really, I just need to see Dominus show up and like start doing his thing. But I'd give this to The Chosen because I think
What?
overall, like,
Stab me in the back, Nick. I'll never forgive this. This is worse than any betrayal so far.
Nick's a regular
stop it.
old Judas over there.
Yeah, my goodness.
Betrayed with
We
a
had the
kiss.
chance. You and I had the chance here, chance of a lifetime, because it's going to be a tie, and we would have to go with the polls. We had the chance, and you blew it. You
I
are
can still
not a
change my mind.
peacemaker. You are not a peacemaker.
no, I'm a decision maker.
Oh.
But I would say, like, interest wise, I'm way more interested in period pieces. Peacemaker isn't a period piece, except for that one scene where they go back in time and he beats his brother to death because his dad made him. Kind of a period piece because it's like the 80s, right? That's what happens,
It's a real Cain and Abel scene right there.
right? But I like what The Chosen has going for it. Could use a tad bit more polish, but it's really polished for like, what is it? Not a real studio, like their own
Yeah.
like self-funded thing.
Totally crowdfunded.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was not expecting that.
Here's
the
the thing:
period
anytime
piece-
The Chosen's on the screen, Mike's like, I did not expect that. Like last round, The Chosen won in the poll. He's like, I did not expect that. This round, The Chosen lost. He's like, I did not expect that.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
know
expect
what
much of
lost.
The Chosen.
No, everything surprises me when it comes to this, and this is what started the mega nuclear text chain here. But yeah, aside from the Christianity aspect of The Chosen, it actually does really serve as a cool period piece. They spend a lot of time digging into historical cultural context of the time, the people, the Jewish culture at that time, the Roman culture at that time, which from my perspective,
Chad's so mad.
as a Christian who is some at times really struggled reading the Bible, watching The Chosen have live action scenes of straight scripture, sometimes dialogue being like line for line from straight out of the Bible, having that visual context and historical context that oftentimes is lacking when you're actually reading the Bible, just makes it super cool. Removing my faith aside from this, I still think what it does for the genre is more than what Peacemaker does, which makes it a more impactful show. And as the seasons go on, what you're talking about, Nick, the polish really starts to get shinier. But yeah, so Dad.
I'm still trying to get caught up, but I do want to input on this one. The Chosen in its genre, there's not really else going on in that genre. I mean, Christian media sucks by default.
Yeah.
So for this to come out and look as good as it does, he's a wacky waving inflatable arm.
Mike,
that was
So
insane.
Hans says, is Mike a robot? And then he says, no, he's a wacky, waving, inflatable arm flailing tube man. I guess I was doing this a lot.
That's what you
I
do.
apologize.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I apologize.
It's okay. The audio only listeners can't see you.
How do I come back from that one?
Yeah, sorry about that.
You don't have to.
I'll pick The Chosen. I mean, obviously.
Obvious. I don't like this word. Obviously, it's really bugging me in this tournament.
It's been thrown around quite a bit.
Well, obviously because I'm a Christian. I'm explaining it because I'm a Christian. Jesus is awesome, so that's what it is. Like it or not.
I like how you kept it real and Mike like churched it up there. He was like, among other things.
Joe
I
says,
hope-
I thought this was a BC Boys video. You're not far off, my dude.
I hope that this doesn't destroy friendships.
Yeah, I'm quitting after tonight. It's fine. It's not that big a deal.
He's
You guys
actually
got-
not
you
even
got
doing the
this
next
covered.
round.
Yeah.
One of the best things to come from our nuclear text thread was the suggestion of a Peacemaker intro for The Chosen. And I just got to say, if you've ever seen the show Peacemaker and the intro, Jordan and I cooked up some really great ideas to Chosen up the Peacemaker intro. I mean, you could have, I'm not even gonna go there.
Don't
'cause I
even go
wanna-
there, dude.
Yeah, we're not even gonna go. It was great. It's a great idea. Hopefully Jordan makes it someday. I don't know. So what's the call here?
It's your
It sounds
frickin-
3-1 against the poll.
and Chad.
And Shad, much to his chagrin, The Chosen will be moving forward into the Sweet 16.
We didn't even get to hear Chad's opinion.
I have no comment. I have no opinion.
He's so mad. That's his opinion. He's just
I just can't. That's like the biggest poll we've ever turned to, I think.
no.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, dude. That was like 50%.
I
Would
think
you say 12 to 6?
11 to 6.
6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the biggest was Bosch and Mindhunter.
Yeah, boss.
That one was a
Or
huge turn.
Maiden Rings of Power was a pretty big one too, I think.
Yeah.
So
moving on.
moving along, we have match 2 here, and we have Invincible, number 5 seed from Netflix, going up against the number 4 seed Ted Lasso from Apple TV Plus. This one is not hard at all. This is I have Ted Lasso moving forward. I would like to hear what the polls say, but in my mind, Ted Lasso, head and shoulders above Invincible. Just a real great quality, family-friendly show.
The polls
You don't have many of those these days. But yeah, go ahead. What do the polls say?
at least came off of The Chosen. How do
I
we
know.
not?
I know. It's odd saying that after The Chosen, but look at the rest of the bracket. Okay.
My bracket, my division.
Yeah, that'd be one sad family if you guys are watching those together.
Mine probably has more death in it than all your guys' combined.
I mean,
Anyway, Ted Lasso takes the poll with 11, Invincible 6.
we all good with that one?
Yep.
All right. Moving right along. Hopefully we're not going too fast for Dad and his art needs.
I'm so behind.
But yeah, I mean, Ted Lasso season 3, I want to say just came out. Let me look that up real quick. If it didn't just come out, it will be coming out very, very soon. Yeah, no, this returned on March 15th, so it's not the 15th yet. That's next week. So yeah, I don't know what day it is, but it's coming back next week, and we did leave off on quite a cliffhanger. Yeah, we had one of the coaches changing teams to a rival team. Like, what's going on there? But no, it's a funny show. Chad probably would not like it because it is funny. But we don't need to talk about it anymore because it was a landslide. Let's get on to match 3 here. Match of shows with solely first named shows here. Barry the number 6 seed from HBO Max taking on Wayne, the number 3 seed from Prime Video. Personally, this is a tough match, but I'm gonna probably go with the consensus of the round table here and probably say Barry gets all the panel votes. Again, I wouldn't discount Wayne. It's a great show that you should watch, but unfortunately, it kind of got in that weird like limbo of getting renewed for a second season because it was like a smaller show. The first season's incredible, but we haven't gotten a second season, and we probably won't, which is sad. Barry, however, fourth and final season coming here in April. Just finished up season 3, before the episode last week, and it's got a lot of great things going for it. The story is kind of really sticking together. I was wondering, what they do after season 2, and it's good to know that the fourth and final season is, Barry is ending because Bill Hader and the writers came to a natural ending point of this story, which is great. It's great news. You love it when the writing team ends on their own terms and not, due to being canceled, or they're not trying to stretch it out past a natural ending point, which again, we're going to fit right in that sweet spot of 3 to 5 seasons, the Showboys sweet spot. Going with the arms again. But what does the poll say? Are they in agreement?
No, first we're gonna see what Holmes said. He wants to know why Chad has a painting of his wall on his wall.
It's actually my electrical.
That's so funny.
That's hilarious. All this time and no one said that.
Oh, that's
right.
so funny.
That's
Ooh. All right, yeah. The
Geez.
poll gives it the Barry with 12. Wayne 5.
Oh man.
Oh, that's a big one.
Got beat up.
Yeah, Nick, are you, or I guess all three of you, are you guys caught up with Barry? Have you seen Barry? How much of Barry have you seen?
Season 1.
Season 1? 0 for Dad?
0.
Chad, have you seen Barry?
0.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, it's tragic. You guys, Chad and Dad definitely need to watch this. It's great. We talked about the premise last week. I mean,
This is.
I'll probably watch that.
Yeah,
Going
this
out
is
to
up here
LA.
too on my list of shows I haven't seen yet in this tournament that I'm the most intrigued by.
It's an easy watch too. They're like 20, 30-minute episodes too.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
great characters.
They move along great. It's funny when it's funny. It's really funny. When it's serious, it hits all those notes right. You have Bill Hader playing the main character here, and sometimes it's hard to picture comedic actors in serious roles or serious moments. But he really I guess I'll use this word because it was what I was going to use and then I stopped myself. But he executes those tense, serious, dramatic moments like very well and very intensely, which is, sometimes you don't expect that from comedic actors, but he does a great job.
Right.
Does a great job. And here we are, the fourth and final matchup. This one, in my opinion, the hardest matchup, at least in my mind, to decide. I would love to hear Nick's opinions on this too, seeing both series. But we have Ozark, the number 10 seed from Netflix, going up against the number 2 seed, Arcane, League of Legends story here. Can we just start with the poll, because I honestly don't know where I sit with this.
Really interesting. Okay.
Well, this has only happened one other time this round, and this poll is split by 1 vote.
What?
1 vote
Really?
makes the difference, and 9 to Ozark, 8 to Arcane. Not helping your case. Tough.
Now, Nick, being the only other person who's seen Arcane and the totality of Ozark? Where do you sit?
Yeah, this is like my
This is
this is like my
difficult.
bracket level stuff. I'm just saying. This should have been in my bracket. I
Joe,
have 5
Joe
matches.
agrees. He says, "Hey, this was the hardest choice for me on tonight's choices."
Yeah, it's tough because Ozark's so darn good of a show, like from beginning to end. But Arcane, in terms of like animation, as well as story, and being a game adaptation, is bananas. What that show does. Yeah, this is like the toughest next to like the Crown Handmaid's Tale for me. I don't know. This one's a doozy.
Well, let's hear Chad and or Dad's case for Ozark, because I'm assuming that that's the show of this matchup that you guys have seen.
It is, but not the show that I would choose. I
Oh.
do
Whoa.
love Ozark, but we did, we kind of swayed my opinion towards it a little bit in the last argument, saying that it really doesn't do much different from the other drug / money laundering / kind of shows, where I think Arcane does do a lot for video game adaptations and for animation as a whole. And I'm holding on because I think it's really cool that we even have an animated series in this that outside of like a Star Wars or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Arcane, it stands out for sure.
Yeah, it definitely does. And the visuals on it are freaking phenomenal.
So good.
So good. So, yeah, my vote's for Arcane.
Same with me.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes my choice actually a lot easier. Because kind of for the same reasons I was leaning towards Arcane, not because of my fandom for League of Legends. It's just for an animated show, it's top notch, and for a game adaptation, it's top notch. And I think there's a few factors that play into that, which we don't have to get into now. We can get into in the next round. But it is still tough because Ozark is an excellent show. From front to back, each episode's great. All the characters are great. There's more there. Not that that's really played a factor into many of these matchups, but I mean, my vote would go with Arcane, but I'm interested, Nick, if you had to break the tie that doesn't exist.
Yeah. I think I would definitely urge more people to watch Arcane. If that's like what, if they watch anime, any of that kind of stuff. Because it's anyone that likes animation and wants to watch animation, I would say hands down, you have to watch Arcane just to have it in your catalog of things you've seen, right? You don't have to know anything about League of Legends, which is phenomenal, being a game adaptation. For a game adaptation thing, to not have any knowledge of the thing it's based on is awesome. But that's not to say that for people that like Ozark type shows, like, it's definitely one of the better ones out there. But not that you can't just swap it out for another one, but it is a phenomenal show.
Yeah.
But in terms of like just trying to push people to watch either one, Arcane's the more important one to me for people as a must see.
Yeah. I think you make a good point too. It's like, I don't think Ozark is easily replaceable in that genre, but at the same time, it doesn't really do anything new or to like push the genre forward.
It just does the genre like awesome.
Very well. Yeah. I probably wouldn't recommend many shows or maybe any show over Ozark if you're like, I need like a good like crime drama.
Right.
Like I'd probably shout Ozark first in recommendations. But yeah, I think if you're saying like a show that you need to see because of what it's bringing to the table, I would probably throw Arcane out there for sure. So it sounds like we're all in agreement, and I'm honestly, I know I've said it a lot, but I'm really surprised by this. I was not
I
expecting
am
this.
shocked.
I was thinking Ozark just based off of longevity and popularity to push over Arcane, though League of Legends is one of the most popular video games in existence. So I don't know. But it sounds like Arcane is moving forward. And I'm totally fine with that because we get to look at this just phenomenally beautiful just image here. I mean, that's just amazing. All these characters you see here, with the exception. No, that's Echo over there. So all these characters up here are playable characters too, which is pretty rad.
Is is League of Legends like a cyberpunk type of thing, or like what kind of genre would you put this?
It's a hodgepodge of all different kinds of like fantasy type.
Okay,
it's like
genres.
A cyber fantasy punk.
Okay,
but there's also your traditional like warrior type or like magic type regions. The cool thing is like because the game is
here we go
solely competitive multiplayer, they're able to build their world to have these different regions that are vastly different. Like this show takes place in Zaun and Piltover, which are the steampunky regions of this world. But like you have like a complete Arctic region that, you know, we have like Vikings and like traditional archers and ice witches, and then you have like Demacia and Noxus, which are your traditional like knights in armor, like military type like civilizations. One of them hates magic and mages, and the other one just roams around conquering people. And then it just the way the game is set up allows for all this to like coexist, which is what makes Arcane special. Is you can like zoom in on one small area of the region and tell a story, and you have the freedom to tell whatever story you kind of want because the players aren't playing any type of story. So it's neat.
Dude.
But
dude,
Joe, he says this has gone on too long. I change my vote to Ozark.
Hey, you just wait till Sweet 16, my friend. All right, yeah, so there we go. We wrapped up round 2. Let's do a quick refresh here. We're gonna hit up the Sweet 16 round, so we now move down to 2 matchups per bracket before we head into the Elite 8 next week. And what we're gonna do here, I'm going to give poor Dad some time to
I got one more.
Perfect. We're going to throw up the criteria back up on the screen here. So our approach here in round 3 as we hit the Sweet 16, we're going to focus more on the criteria specifics of each criteria for each show, as we only have 2 matchups per bracket, and some of these matchups are going to be very spicy and highly contested, I would say. But just as a reminder, we have story, which is the overall quality of the story being told, factoring in how interesting and fluid and well executed the narrative is and how it plays out throughout the series. We have characters, which will be the overall quality of the characters used in the series, taking into account how the characters are written, acted, and used throughout the series. We have the aesthetic, overall quality of the visual presentation of the series, including the cinematography, presentation, visual effects, etc. We have world building, which is the overall quality of the world / cinematic universe within the series, factoring in how fluid and seamless the world of the series blends into the narrative and potential to see other stories told within the same world. And then our last category is cultural impact, the impact made with the audience, including memorability, the impact on the viewers, and the impact on the industry as a whole. That's kind of where we lump in the impact on the genre, if you will, like we just talked about. And of course, we have our bonus category of music, quality of music, both original score and use of existing songs, as well as its effectiveness when being used. For example, building tension or exerting emotions in certain scenes and whatnot. The only rule change here, instead of relying on the poll results, because we were not able to do a round 3 poll because we didn't know who was moving on from round 2. So what Nick did was, what did you do again for the poll for round 3? Can you please explain that to the listeners?
So essentially, for the winners of the last round, I took the votes they got from the first round, added them to the votes they got for the second round, and that will be the vote they get for the third round. Which is pretty nice because some of these shows, they knocked both rounds out of the park. Other ones, they did poorly through the rounds. So it's kind of like a net of how these shows have scored poll wise so far.
There you go. And what we're going to do is we will only be using the poll now as a tiebreaker, and instead be discussing the matchups as we go through them a little more closely and trying to make our decisions that way. So without further ado, let's head back to Division Dad for matchup number 1 here. Severance versus Bosch.
Yep, that's what we got. Oh boy, where do I start?
Did you know this was? I guess you did because you made all the graphics. I don't even know what my matchups are for this round, so this is
I don't either. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'll just start with story. The story for both of these shows is really, really well done. Bosch has the advantage here because it has a wider range of story being told. I'm not caught up all the way. I haven't finished it. But everything I've seen in Bosch, just well done, well executed, tension in the right moments, cliffhangers when there need to be cliffhangers. And then there's some moments where it just kind of stops and you're like, what's happening? But I loved it. Because you just kind of kept going with it. Severance, great story. Like, I wanted more. Like, I would say on that end, probably more so Severance than Bosch, just a little bit. I wanted more story because it was so intriguing and so mysterious and just so much like dangling out in front of you, but not giving you really any clarity or answers. I know what my pick is for this round. Or do you want me to go through all these categories?
Maybe not all of them because we would be like 5 hours.
Yeah, we're gonna be here 5 hours.
Maybe
the
we'll best argued
like,
one.
Yeah.
So I'd say the best argued one for this would be the characters. I think Titus Welliver, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Him being Bosch is so like convincing. Like, it's so great. I know you get it, Chad. Like, yeah. He's just so great at this character. And I guess, like, from what I've read, he nails this character to a T from the books.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So, like, I will continue to watch the show just because I love Bosch. The characters are great. Even the supporting characters are great. Severance, same kind of deal. Like, the characters are just, like, so believable, but they have, like, 2 sides of themselves. Like, you have the work life and you have the personal life, and they, some start to bleed into each other. And at the end of the season, you're like, what is happening? Like, you're just like, it's total cliffhanger, like at the worst possible moment of the story. And you're like, but the characters are so well done. So my pick would be Severance, but let's see what our poll says.
Well, before we get into the poll,
or do we just want to use that as a tiebreaker?
Chad, why don't you provide more of a platform for Bosch, and then I'll take more of a platform for Severance. And then Nick, have you seen any of either?
Neither.
Okay, so yeah, once we do that, then we'll get to the poll.
I feel like I'm getting set up to.
Well, we don't even need to get to the poll because depending on the argument, maybe Nick can decide on which piques his interest more between what all is said here.
Yeah, so as far as Bosch, I mean, Dad really nailed it. He nails this character from the books very, very, very good. He's kind of like a grizzled, kind of stretches the line sometimes detective in a department that doesn't necessarily do that anymore, because this is modern day. Los Angeles isn't the 80s and 90s again where that was common. So he plays really well with all the supporting characters, especially I think in the first season, like his captain is like, just retire, dude. Like, we don't need cops like you anymore. Just give it up. But the first season builds a very, very good murder mystery alongside another smaller mystery that's as more intriguing, or if not more intriguing, as intriguing as the original, main story or main crime in the first season. And the crimes throughout the seasons are not the same every time. He's a Hollywood homicide detective, but that covers a broad range of things. Hollywood's is a pretty decently big area. It's got a lot of different sections. I mean, there's some really crappy areas in Hollywood as well. Like, we think as Hollywood is like the Hollywood, the strip with the stars and everything, but there's not. I mean, there's a lot of crappy areas down through there. So you got everything from like, people getting kidnapped and murdered in the ghettos to, rich people up in the hills, dealing with like, the wife got murdered, who did it. There's a lot of good stuff going on as far as the detective stuff in this. And I'll say it again, it's just cool that we're getting a spinoff with the same character. You don't see that very often. You usually see spinoffs of other characters or something like that. We're seeing him after his career taking on the private detective route. So yeah, I mean, my vote's Bosch. That being said, I know Mike's going to argue Severance. Like I said, Severance is really piqued my interest a lot. But it's just like Bosch is near and dear to my heart, man. It really is.
I get it. That's why this is tough.
I think it's super interesting that the spinoff is with the same character, just a different story. Because you don't like that.
Never
doesn't happen. So that is a very, very cool little tidbit here. But I'm gonna kind of branch away from the characters and talk about the story of Severance. Again, just the premise of being able to sever your mind into personal and work, and the fact that neither know the other exists, is super intriguing.
That's
and
wild.
Really causes you to think about the morality of the situation, because essentially you're creating two different people, right? And the work version of you is essentially an imprisoned slave that only exists inside of work, and like which is so weird to think about. But like Severance has this like near distant future, like weird I don't want to say dystopian because it's not, but like a kind of that weird sci-fi vibe to it. And what I love so much is the majority of the story takes place in the office, in the workplace. So I think it is funny how you described it, like the Office horror version. is pretty funny. But yeah, the way that the Office works, it's just very surreal, and like the aesthetic and how they exist inside the office is not real. Like, they talk weird. The job they do makes absolutely no sense.
It's scary numbers.
Yeah, it is the most insane sounding thing ever, which when you describe it sounds really stupid, but when you see it play out, it's like, oh, that's really weird.
It reminds me of the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not.
Right.
It's like in the future, kind of. But like small things they do with how they they treat employee morale as both hilarious and like terrifying and like
Over the top.
yeah, the different rewards they get for hitting their quotas or whatever. It's like the one dude has a pen holder full of Chinese finger traps, and he's like, yeah, just finish, top 5% or whatever. I just got all these finger traps here. How that the almost childlike innocence of the workers in the office, how that kind of develops throughout the series and takes a very wild turn. Again, without really trying, I want you guys to watch this, so I don't want to spoil much of anything, but it takes a really wild turn. And then, like Jeff said, when it gets to the point of somehow figuring out how to break that severance, and then the work version coming out in existence, is just something else to see. It's super trippy. When I started the show, I wasn't expecting it to be what it was, and it slowly climbed into my favorite show of the year. And my vote would be Severance, but I understand the vote for Bosch being an OG and pioneer and prime original series and the noir-esque story and stuff. So that's my pitch. What say you, panel members? Do we need to go to the poll? I think it'd be fun just to see the
Well, I think we need Nick's opinion. I think we need Nick's opinion first.
Yeah, bro. What happened?
No. That's what I say. I want to hear what you say, but I think I am interested.
Yeah, even though you stabbed me in the back like 15 minutes ago, I still have your back. You just remember that. Remember that here, okay?
You heard it here first.
Well, don't worry, because it's remembered. Because I think having seen neither of these shows, but you have all made basically an equal argument for both. Chad for Bosch, Mike for Severance, Dad for both.
It's a great stance to have.
Yeah. While Severance sounds really cool, my worry about that show is that it's not as widely interesting to a bigger audience. That's my worry, because the things you guys are saying to try to describe it are like barely cohesive.
Yeah, it's a hard one without getting into like the thick of it and like spoiling what's going on. Yeah, it's hard.
Whereas like Bosch sounds a little bit more like something I need to just like go watch, because I get what it's about just by the description of it, and it seems a little bit more approachable, right? And the fact that it is a little longer running, also has a spinoff, and how much you guys have talked about how well the character is played, especially in comparison to a book character.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's hard to find. Not that it's hard to find those types of shows that are good, right, and like really grippy. I think are kind of like a little bit diamonds in the rough. Otherwise, you can go watch SVU and kind of get the same jazz. But
no pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my vote here would be for Bosch.
It's your division, man. It's your division.
What are the combined poll results from rounds 1 and 2 for these shows?
So Severance comes in at 27 combined votes, and Bosch comes in at 19.
Wow.
That's because Mike and Dad voted 20 times in the first poll.
That's not true. That's not true. You shut
true.
your mouth.
Oh, okay.
All right. So what have we come to here?
Am I making the final call?
It's your division, bro.
I mean, you're the only one that was on the fence.
Yeah, you're the one that was like, I like them both. You made him do all that work under pressure, and then now the first
Now it's
match
broken. He's broken.
I'm gonna go with my gut in hopes that I'm making the right decision. I'm gonna pick Severance.
Oh, and we're in a tie. So
It was
I guess we
not
go
the
to
route I thought you were
We
going to
are.
take.
I know.
I thought your gut
I
was going
know.
with Bosch.
I know.
That's not a tie.
Well, you and Nick were, or you and Chad were for Bosch. Jeff and I were for Severance.
And
But
the poll
But yeah,
breaks it.
I'm saying the poll we would have to take the poll into account now.
Yes.
I did not make that decision lightheartedly. I just want you to know, Chad.
That's all right. I got to be honest with you. I'm impressed that Bosch made it as far as it did.
Me too.
So-
And we like really pushed for it first round.
did.
So
Yeah,
rightfully
it sounds
so.
like it's well deserved.
It's
it
so
is.
good.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so good.
All right, moving on to your final matchup of the night, Dad. This one,
Oh boy.
your two matchups right off the start, dude.
Yeah, man.
Real
No thanks.
nail biters
I
here.
think they're all going to be bad.
I honestly don't know what to make of this matchup.
I don't either.
We have The Boys, number 7 from Prime Video, going up against Stranger Things, the number 11 seed from Netflix. Ouch.
So I'll start with I mean, I think I do have a not necessarily clear winner, but I'm leaning more towards one way.
This one's exciting.
I would say that the aesthetics for both are just incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Just over the top, amazing. The effects, just in world building. Oh my goodness. Stranger Things does that just amazingly. Like, it's such a beautiful show. Like, I know it's like kind of, dark, and there's, whatever creatures and stuff and Vecna and all that. But just like they put so much detail into everything. It's just, how can you not fall in love with it? I mean, it's just not even just for the nostalgia value, but like the characters are great. They're believable. They're freaking teenagers and they're annoying. They've all got their own little dramas and stuff like that. And then you've got The Boys. Oh my gosh. I'm only like 5 episodes in and I love this show. Like it's my favorite superhero show I've seen.
Attaboy.
Attaboy. Yeah, it is a little over the top in a lot of areas. You've got a naked invisible man walking around being a perv, that's kind of rough.
You have a fish man walking around
Fish
being a
man.
perv.
With dolphins.
Oh my gosh.
I can't. The characters are great.
You don't have to
It's
decide
not-
right now.
It's not that tough of a decision, but
Oh.
I could be swayed either way,
Okay.
like. So
Nick, you go now.
Okay.
you go now.
I think at face value this looks hard, but it's a difficult match for sure. But I think in terms of like, this is gonna be tough to say because like they're both very impactful shows. But I kind of lean toward The Boys in this matchup. In that it is like one of the most unique, insane, and polished superhero
Very
shows you can find, or even like movie. Like it just takes a superhero genre and just makes it mature and like awesome. But then Stranger Things, while as great as it is and really has a massive cultural impact, right? It really hits all the 80s and 90s babies like right in the nostalgia bone. I think it does have its low points, right? It does have some misses through it, whether it's like the story, some weird character things. I would say
Teen
it doesn't have like phenomenal writing. Like I'm not going to watch Stranger Things because it has like this amazing writing around the story. Like it's nothing's really gripping there. Mostly what it has going for it is like the angsty characters, the aesthetic, nostalgia rating, and the concept is really cool, right? Like the world it's in and
D&D come to
about.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of its strengths also kind of play to its like weaknesses, especially with its longevity. I think it's definitely gotten a little weaker as time has gone on. A lot of that has kind of worn off. So I would say, like in terms of the better show for the long run, I'd go The Boys this round.
Chad.
Yeah. So last round you said The Boys either gets you or it doesn't get you, right? And for me, it's not. It doesn't get me. I've tried multiple times, especially after joining the podcast. You guys hype it up so much. I just, for whatever reason, can't get into it.
It's crazy.
I know, because it's like really right up my alley. So I just don't understand it. And I do want to point out that I think it does a lot of stuff good. But Stranger Things, on the other hand, let's just start with 11 would whoop the shit out of all of the boys. Hands down. I like the concept. I'm a I had a podcast previously on conspiracies and that kind of stuff. So taking a conspiracy and building a fictional world around it. This is actually built around a actual conspiracy theory of them experimenting on kids in New York. So taking that, injecting all the stuff that they inject into it, the 11's one of the coolest characters ever. I could do without all the other characters. I think Mike's super annoying. Especially as he gets older. I think they're all really good in the first season. He's just an awkward dude, man. He looks weird. He acts weird.
Oh, don't give my boy Flynn Wolford like that.
He's just
I
weird.
totally agree. Exactly.
He's totally weird.
Oh yeah.
And
So true.
I think the story is phenomenal, and I disagree with Nick on the longevity of it. I think the third season's the best season so far, or best season of the show. I think we're probably going to get the final season in season 5, early in season 5 of Stranger Things. I think that as it got better, some of the elements got weaker, especially the young actors turning into adult actors. There was a little, little stuff that was off there.
It's tricky to do, man.
It is, but just watching, a group of young kids take down a government agency that's experimenting on kids.
Will looks so weird in this picture over here. Like,
he looks nothing like him. He looks nothing like him at all.
He really
I don't even know where. Yeah, I don't even know who approved that.
I think we had to
at Netflix.
That was a great image for this overlay because you have them like stacked vertically, but that image does not do Will justice at all.
Right.
He kind of looks like Mike's mom.
But but I do think that it does have it does have some weak.
Just killing me. He knows Stranger Things than puberty.
All right, Stranger Things,
I'm
my
so
vote.
Sorry. I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
you're good,
I'm
man.
so sorry.
Stranger Things, my vote.
The thing that sucks is Chad and Nick both swayed me to both sides.
Same.
So I'm like, I was standing on the fence, and now I've like they each grabbed a leg and pulled, and then like now I'm like just sitting on the fence very uncomfortably,
waving
my arms around. Shoot, man. Where are you leaning, Jeff? Because I'll go last. I can't.
I am leaning towards Stranger Things. Because of the story. I love the story. I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chad's point about the story, because I did forget about was it MK Ultra?
It's Montauk Boys, Montauk,
Yeah,
New York. Yeah.
that whole mind control.
There's definitely
conspiracy
there's
theory.
MK Ultra stuff in there as well, but
I
the
think that's
main,
on
yeah,
the West Coast
yeah.
Oh yeah.
with Hollywood.
But yeah, that whole aspect I kind of totally forgot about. But you couple that with like bringing Dungeons and Dragons characters as the villains in the show is super cool. And I think honestly I have to go down to the bonus category for me, the music.
Oh, so good.
Stranger Things
Yeah,
just slaps. Like
Nails it,
that would
yeah.
get my vote because I really
Crushes
was
it.
deadlocked. I didn't know what to pick. But the music is so good.
It is.
Yeah. Super awesome intro as well.
Oh,
Like one of the best intro songs ever.
Plus, like you have the letters slowly coming in. It's perfect. I mean, so are we making Nick angry and picking Stranger Things here?
I mean, it doesn't make me angry. I thought fair. I would just make a case for the boys.
What were the numbers?
The numbers stand with me. With 43 for the boys and 41 for Stranger Things.
Wow.
That's pretty close.
Was pretty
Also,
close.
like two of the highest scoring shows. Actually, those are the two highest scoring shows.
Jeez.
Dang, dude. Perfect. So we have the finals for Division Dad set with Severance versus Stranger Things next week. Holy
Dude,
I
crap.
hate
nuts.
I'm going to be sick next week. I'm not going to be able to make. I'm not going to be able to make it in. I'm sorry.
Call it off.
Please don't fire me.
Oh, man. All right. So I've been looking forward to hearing this. Chad's
Oh,
first
boy.
match. Take it away, sir.
Yeah. So, I mean, this one is probably the toughest matchup I've had so far, but it's not as tough as anything that you guys have going on, I think. While I am a major Daredevil fan, I think that and the thing that kind of sucks about Daredevil in my mind is I think the third season might be the best season, one of the best seasons, and I think it's because we get the return of Wilson Fisk and we get Bullseye, which is an awesome character. It's cool to see all the background stuff there. So it ended on like such a freaking awesome season, and that. There's like licensing stuff going on there. Obviously, it wasn't canceled because it was a bad show, like Luke Cage and the whatever the other one is, Iron Fist.
Yeah.
So I think Daredevil is hands down the best Marvel. It might be the best Marvel anything, to be honest with you. It's definitely the best Marvel show.
Aren't they bringing this back?
They are.
Kind of.
Which is
Kind
awesome.
of. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see how Disney-fied it gets.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
I think even Wilson Fisk and Hawkeye was a little Disney-fied. You know what I mean? They like to go over the top with what draws me to this so much is that it's like very grounded. For being a superhero, anything, this is the most grounded version of a superhero story. Like you could see this lawyer actually doing this in New York City. You know what I mean? It's very grounded. There's not over the top, Wilson Fisk isn't ripping doors off and you know what I mean? Like he did in Hawkeye. So we'll see how it goes. They might do a good job with it. Daredevil Born Again. We'll see. I know John Bernthal's coming back as the Punisher. They announced this week, which is exciting.
His whole arsenal is now Nerf guns.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So I want to give it to Daredevil because Daredevil is a phenomenal show. However, it just got the unfortunateness of being paired with House of the Dragon. And House of the Dragon comes out post Game of Thrones, right? It is a prequel to Game of Thrones. It has a George R.R. Martin book associated with it, but the book itself is only one book. It's written like a history book telling a fictional story of the Targaryen Civil War. So like the dialogue and stuff is not in the book. It's literally written like a history book. So for them to take that, and I would love to see, because I think this is what The Last of Us is doing really well. They're taking something small from the game that like a small section from the game and making them into much bigger, better stories. I would love to see some of the stuff from House of the Dragon that's in the book that was like one sentence and they turned it into like an entire episode and spun it.
Yeah.
But I think there was a lot riding on this series. There was a lot of pressure on this series because a lot of people were disappointed with the way Game of Thrones ended. It put a bad taste in a lot of the fans' mouth. So I know that a lot of people were excited but hesitant for this show. And I think it freaking delivered on practically everything. I think it doesn't deliver on one thing, and we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, with Patty Constantine, Matt Smith, the acting here is just over the top good. I've said before that, you know, Damon is my spirit animal, like just a great freaking character through and through. I think Patty does great as King Viserys through the whole of the series, and he changes very drastically throughout
an Emmy.
Yeah, throughout the series. And then I was very concerned with the actress changes because I grew to really love the earlier actresses for Rhaenyra and Alicent, but I ended up kind of falling in love with their older counterparts as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of good here. There is, you know, for how many characters were introduced, how many time jumps we went through. They did a great job keeping it all together. And this is Game of Thrones. So a lot of these characters have very, very similar names, if not the same exact name. So,
Yeah.
so it
I got
could have
confused quite a few times with that.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been far more confusing than I think it ended up being. I thought they did a very good job keeping that all contained, especially with the time jumps where it seemed like we were getting major time jumps every episode. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's been 7 years now all of a sudden. So that on top of the kind of world, I don't want to call it world building because Game of Thrones really built the world. It's more like world stripping the world back a little bit to a different time where it's the same world and you see it, but it feels very different. It's a Targaryen world. You see the pieces of it throughout the city or the Red Keep. Everything feels very different, even though it's really the same buildings, the same city, the same, really a major family from Game of Thrones. But it all feels very, very different because it's in a peacetime. And what I think it doesn't deliver on is the action. And I think that we're going to get plenty of that moving forward. Like, this is the groundwork building into the war. And now we are finally at that tipping point at the end of the season. So I think we're going to get plenty of action. So I'm not even going to knock it for that. I will knock it a little bit on the aesthetics of it a little bit. So I'm going to pick that because I think that the aesthetics just feel weird, but get better throughout the whole of the first season. Like, there's a lot of stuff you could tell they were like trying to figure certain things out using the same thing that the Mandalorian uses, made some shots feel very fake. The dragons, I think, don't look that good in the first half of the season. I think they look very, very fake. But those are like small complaints and otherwise amazing series. And yeah, I had pretty high expectations and it blew it out of the water. So for my money, it's House of the Dragon. Sorry, I got long-winded there. I apologize. I was trying to keep it short, really.
Let it out. Let it out.
Agree. To your point about Daredevil being grounded, I would almost compare it to like the series equivalent of like the Dark Knight trilogy. Nolan's Batman over there. Because again, like you said, you could see a lawyer, you know, thrown on a black turtleneck and bandana and going around kung fuing people, much like you could see Bruce Wayne in the Nolan verse, just being a really rich dude who made a cool bat suit. The villains were grounded within the superhero context. But yeah, it's unfortunate Daredevil going up against House of the Dragon. I agree with you with House of the Dragon moving forward. I will say, though it shouldn't, because this is the Netflix Daredevil series, so there's hesitancy about the reuse of the character switching into the MCU, because the MCU sucks now, and
Yeah. Right.
they're going to. You said Disneyfy. I would say sissify these
Yes,
characters.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Just
Oh,
hit
yeah.
these guys with a giant Nerf hammer, and it's gonna suck.
Very non PC, bro.
Because what we saw in Matt Murdock, though I couldn't think of his name, made an appearance in She-Hulk, and the night and day difference from the Matt we knew. So I don't know. I wait with bated breath for Born Again. But Nick, Jeff, do you guys have anything you'd like to add on this matchup? In agreement? Do you disagree?
I agree. It's House of the Dragon. Easy.
I definitely agree.
Nice try.
What?
Baiting us there.
I mean, I'm almost at the point where I'm like, if you haven't seen either Game of Thrones entry, I would just say go watch House of the Dragon first.
Yeah.
Instead of biting that Game of Thrones bullet. This is like a nice, better intro to the world versus Game of Thrones, which can seem daunting. And also, it has its misses along the way. So,
no. Next matchup here for young Chad.
it lost in the poll, by the way.
Oh yeah, what were the numbers?
30 for House of the Dragon and 40 for Daredevil. Well, they're net scores.
Yeah,
Daredevil.
obviously
Wow.
not against each other, but
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
So, my second round here, I'll try to keep it shorter winded on this one because I think as much as I love Queen's Gambit and everything it's got going on, it's just fell on the wrong side of this battle. If it would have been Daredevil and Queen's Gambit, I would have probably had a harder time, picking out one there. But The Mandalorian, I think, like I said earlier, I think that what it does really good is the world building and the aesthetics. The music is also really, really good too. But I don't even know if it's really strong in the character department. I mean, it's got strong characters. It's got Clone Wars characters coming into it. So those are already pre-established strong characters. It's got, like I said, one of the most adorable aspects of Star Wars and Grogu. And I'm still impressed that they kept that a secret for as long as they did. Nobody knew about that. So my vote's Mandalorian. I think that just bringing Star Wars back to that Western feel is what we kind of needed. And I got to tip my hats off to them because Disney finally figured out their route for taking Star Wars from this way forward. And it's not
Jon
a trilogy
Favreau
of
and
movies.
Dave Filoni.
Yeah. It's not a trilogy of movies. It's these series, and they've all been great so far. Like I said, couldn't get into Andor. I'll get to it eventually and just power through those first couple episodes because I know it probably gets significantly better. But for my money, Mandalorian.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting coming off the back of the sequel trilogy or whatever, when basically Star Wars was a giant dumpster fire, just to build off the points that have already been made in this episode, with the Mandalorian kind of being like the savior of the live action Star Wars material on at least since Disney. And yeah, I mean, that alone, coupled with the fact I've not seen Queen's Gambit,
Yeah.
moves it forward for me. But I would be interested to hear, Nick, what you have to say.
Oh, I mean, I think it's hands down the Mandalorian. Queen's Gambit, obviously, excellent season of a show to watch, but again, narrow in focus. It pales in comparison to just the longevity as well as cultural impact of the Mandalorian. It's just too big of a show, right? It's hard to stop that thing. And it's that thing that people are going to watch regardless, just to like keep up with and be in the know. And
Mhm.
it's where it does fall short, right? Like even say the first episode of season 3, it's still by all means an entertaining and fun episode installment of what that show sets out to do. While I nitpick it for all the Star Wars nerd reasons, right? If not even like story wise reasons, it was still a good that the whole Western spaghetti Western vibe thing, like it still hit that mark, and that's exactly what that show still is, and we can't forget that. So Mando.
Dad?
So I just want to echo what Hans said in chat.
Yep.
Love me some baby yogurt. That's all I got to say about that.
All right. Well, if only we had the sick Mandalorian theme song to play under this visual here. Not too surprising looking at the matchups it went up against to get to where it is now. I am saying just from the 2 division final matchups we have here, next week is going to be really fun.
Oh my god.
Severance going up against Stranger Things to come out of Division Dad, and House of the Dragon going up against The Mandalorian for Division Chad.
Yikes.
Man, because next week, of course, we
Spicy.
only have 4 episodes to get through, so we're gonna come and nail each category in detail, and it's gonna be so much fun to tackle these matchups. But now we must move on to Division Nick, and we have Chernobyl, the number 1 seed from HBO Max, taking on The Haunting of Hill House, the number 4 seed from Netflix.
Oh, this is brutal. I mean, I did this to myself, I guess. I
Yep,
picked,
you
like,
did.
the worst
You
shows.
sure did.
What was my other options I could have gone with? None of them would have been good.
Just
No, that would've been-
think very good here, Nick, because I'm going to use your own words against you. Okay. So
Okay.
just think this through.
Okay. I'm just gonna go to poll. I will say, just no, I'll keep that a secret. We'll just use it if we need to.
Did we save the poll for Mandalorian?
No.
and Queen's Gambit?
Queen's Gambit got a total of 29 votes over the course of 2 polls, and Mando got 34.
Oh, nice.
So, still, the Stranger Things and the Boys, like,
Massive.
Crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is tough. This is really tough because they're both 1 season bangers, right? They both pocket into a very specific niche of television, right? The stories that they're telling, both incredibly well acted, both well written. While probably not based on real events, Haunting of Hill House hits home for a lot of people because hauntings are very real to a lot of people. Chernobyl, actually based on a real thing that was pretty crazy, which I think one thing I do like about Chernobyl as well is like it's something we all know about, right? Everyone knows about the story of Chernobyl, but nothing's really like shown us at least a dramatization of it, let alone like real footage of it, because the Russians are really good at like that didn't happen.
It's all in your head.
It happened, but like nothing to worry
Come on,
about.
guys.
Yeah,
Happens
come on,
all the
guys.
time.
It just like
It's a break
East
here.
Palestine. So
Yeah.
what?
It happens all the time, guys. We're
That's
fine.
It does
Everything's
happen all the
fine.
time. Like derailments are the thing lately. They're hot. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, they just have so many similarities, and like this isn't like a 1 season versus a 10 season, right? that's the pain here. They have so many similarities, and I really can't pin it down. So I'm gonna turn to you guys to try and do some swaying here.
It's very Jeff-like of you.
Yeah, and we're gonna start with Jeff,
Yeah, there you go.
Who's Jeff?
Dad.
Very dad-like of you.
Oh boy.
Then we'll go Chad. Then we'll go Mike.
Ted's like, I really want to hear what Chad has to say.
So I've not seen either one of these.
What?
Oh,
It's true.
my.
It's true. So I can't help you.
Which one would you pick based
Interesting.
on the arguments made so far?
I would pick Haunting of Hill House.
Okay.
That's more
Chad.
my thing.
Can you explain why of what you've heard? What made you pick Hill House?
The whole haunting in the house.
You know, the hill.
You know,
It was really the hill that sold me.
Yeah.
the hill. It was the hill.
All right,
Yeah.
Chad. Looks
Chad,
like you and I are
give
going to
us
pick
some-
up the slack
Give
here.
us some more context here.
Yeah, so I do want to use your period piece
Mm.
thing against you since it stabbed me in the back earlier. There's an obvious choice here as far as the period piece thing goes. For my money, like I said, I love Haunting of Hill House. I think it does a lot of stuff really good. I think you very rarely see you see it in like ads sometimes. They had that like school shooting ad where the dude was like in the background doing all kinds of screwed up stuff, but you didn't see it because you were focusing on whatever was going on in the ad.
Mhm.
I think Haunting of Hill House does that really, really good. They did it a little bit in Bly Manor as well, but just like finding out at the end of the series, like seeing an IGN article of like, here's all the hidden ghosts. I was like, I didn't even know there were any fucking hidden
So
ghosts in
many.
the show. And then you see like the staircase. The first one is the staircase, and there's like
Yeah.
6 of them standing behind the
The
staircase. But
funeral home.
but you're so focused on them running down the steps and what's going on, like why are they so panicked that you don't even see all that stuff. So I think that it does that really well. On the other hand, Chernobyl is I don't know, dude. It just took like what was already a pretty horrifying sounding story and made it somehow more dramatic, I guess, by Nick's gauging. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think there's just there's a lot of good, especially in that first episode, dude. That first episode is horrifying. And I frequently, if I find myself in need of some sort of horror in my life, I typically go back to that first episode because it's a real horror. Like it's a real life thing that happened, that these people actually went through that stuff.
Yeah.
Just little things that are terrifying, like the firefighters showing up and then the one dude picks up the piece of, I think it's, graphite,
Mhm.
and puts it down. And then all of a sudden his glove is melting off. Like I can't, as a firefighter, can't even comprehend
But see,
something like that happening.
That's what I
So-
read about. That wasn't real.
Yeah, it might not have been.
There
Yeah.
were things that were they did dramatize that weren't
Yeah.
actually real.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I meant by that.
I think it's it's cool to see how much and I know for a fact that they were downplaying this quite a bit when this happened.
yeah.
So it's cool to see how that probably panned out, where they're like, even in the beginning where the main scientist is like, oh yeah, we're fine. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we're just pump some water into it. And they're like, there's no core left. Like there's nothing to pump
There's
water into.
nothing.
And they're like, that's impossible. They don't blow up. So, and
Yeah.
then he's like, yeah, he's sick. Get him out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
that whole opening episode, and then everything after I think is really strong as well. But Chernobyl.
Hans says Dad left to get milk. We know how that turns out. He'll be back in 20 years to ask for money. Good dad leaving joke. Hopefully he does come back, because it would be sad if he didn't. Geez, this is tough. I think in short, I would probably go with Chernobyl over Hill House 2, based off of kind of what you were talking about, Chad, the realness factor. I mean, nuclear fallout is terrifying. And the fact that it happened, and not incredibly long ago. Well, I mean, I guess kind of now, I always think like 20, 30 years ago is like,
The
much.
70s.
Yeah, it's just, time
You're stuck
sucks.
in
I'm getting old.
2000. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the real factor, and the fact that it's like still like a very real threat to happen. I mean, nuclear power. Of course, you have the threat, the always fun threat of like nuclear bombs, nuclear anything is never a fun thing to think about when it is used incorrectly or catastrophes surrounding nuclear anything. With that being said, though, it also features our favorite nameless actor that's been in 300 things.
Yeah.
That, we never remember his name.
First name's Jared. I know
Jared,
that much.
yes. Dude, are we gonna have a matchup of Jareds in Division Nick
Yes.
finals? But what Hill House does though is absolutely fantastic. For a one season show, it's gripping. The story's great. It's really just a family drama that also takes place in a haunted house, so you have a lot of spooky things going on. But like Chad said earlier, Flanagan's best work on Netflix by far, series wise. Just a really great show that could be watched over and over again. Has really cool scenes. All the hidden Easter egg stuff is really neat, but I still think that Chernobyl probably gets my vote. Did that help you at all, Nick? Or are you still on the fence? What's going on in your head?
That definitely did help. I'll throw the poll out there. So Chernobyl got 39 votes, which is top 5 scoring shows, right, in the poll. And then Hill House here got 28. So I think all the evidence gathered. Well, I do thoroughly enjoy Hill House. It's a great watch and a great rewatch. I think the net better show would be Chernobyl as well.
Agreed. Sounds like we got a winner here.
Listen here,
Chernobyl.
Hones. Either he leaves and gets the milk and doesn't come back, or he comes back and he don't has the milk. So, you can't have both.
Exactly. So Chernobyl moves on to the finals of
So
Division
proud of
Nick.
Chernobyl. So proud of Chernobyl.
Yeah, right.
It's like the team that shows up because some other team got disqualified and they can't play, and they're like, dude, we got to find somebody. Yeah, these guys, and then they come and wreck the whole tournament.
And they've actually like trained and practiced the whole time, and like,
we've been waiting.
We've worked for this.
Yeah, true. I mean, hey, replacement show making it all the way to the division finals. That's fantastic. Who's it going to go up against here, Nick? You got your last matchup of the night.
No, don't make me do it. Oh man, so we have the Crown versus the Expanse. This
Jared, we are
Jared
for
again.
sure certain to have a Jared finals because he's in both of these shows.
He's in both of these about the same amount too.
It's amazing.
It's crazy. Jared's everywhere. He's in like 3 of my shows. Like, that's crazy. Is he in Haunting of Hill House? No. Maybe he's a ghost. Yeah. So this one, for whatever, trying to do that thing Mike says to do, where we like remove our bias. But like, I feel like the Crown is like a net better like show by the numbers, and like even the seed kind of suggests that. But I very entirely love the Expanse, and I think for not that the Crown doesn't do this for its genre, because I don't even really know what the Crown's genre is. Like period piece, biography, biography kind of. History lesson. The Expanse is like also does so much for like the sci-fi genre. It is, to me, it's like, I feel like it's super unique for a sci-fi drama or sci-fi show because one, how accurate it is to like actual physics and all that fun space stuff, and somehow makes it dramatic and exciting, while really it's just like slow spinning and
don't forget to turn your magnet boots on
and like don't die by the flying wrench, that kind of stuff. Great characters, great acting, great actors they've pulled in and out through the whole thing. And also the story based on books. The fact that each season has like a different vibe, a different style. The same can be said about the Crown. Every 2 seasons it's a different like 20 years they're covering, which is like a different period. So it's like a multi-period piece over there. But The Expanse is very expansive in that it's all over the solar system, even goes outside the solar system. Spoilers. This one's tough. This one's really tough for me. So I do like both these shows quite a bit. They're about the same amount of seasons, and I feel like they're both a little underappreciated to both audiences that would like either. I feel like not enough people have seen The Expanse that should have seen The Expanse, and I also feel a lot of people that should see The Crown have not seen The Crown. Mike, what about you? What do you think?
I've not seen The Crown, so my points will only be for The Expanse. And the point that I was going to make about The Expanse, I mean, it's hard to make this point about like historical period piece. Well, not period piece, but like more historical type shows. History lesson, I think, is what you called it. Is The Expanse has created such a world that there are many spin-off possibilities. There are a lot of stories you can tell in the universe of The Expanse because it is an expansive universe. That was a terrible joke.
I already made that one too.
Did you? Oh, man.
You just regurgitated the same joke.
But like The Crown, obviously you could tell lots of stories based off of the historical families that are presented there. I mean, you could maybe not be as interesting, but we were talking about historical stuff. You could find historical stories to tell. Just talk about Princess Diana alone. You could have a cool spin-off there with that whole tragedy and conspiracy type, unless they do that in the show. I don't know. The story of The Expanse is just very fascinating, and it's fun to see a sci-fi show that takes place mainly in space that isn't. What?
Please finish that sentence. Don't leave it there.
Okay. But like it takes place in almost entirely in space, but it's not like the main focus isn't like some. It's my arms. I know. I'm sorry. I can't help it. But it's not like alien centric. Like
Gotcha.
it's a very human story and a very political story. They're not. While there is I guess spoiler-y territory, like possibly some sort of alienness to it. The large part of the story is a political story between these three factions of the people from Earth, the people from Mars, and then the Belters, and how they can coexist with each other, which I don't know, you don't really typically see that in a lot of space-centric sci-fi stuff. It's usually about like, oh, we gotta spooky, scary aliens, or we gotta like fend off an alien invasion, or et cetera, et cetera. My vote would go for The Expanse, but that's having not seen The Crown. Who wants to go next?
Expanse.
Dad.
It's hard to argue with that.
Expanse.
Okay. Then my vote's The Crown, but between you three and the poll, which is 36 for The Expanse, 17 for The Crown, The Expanse is the winner.
Woo!
Which I'm not upset about.
So just very briefly, what put The Crown over the top for you?
I think like just looking at all the A-list movies in my bracket, not to put any shame on your guys' brackets, but
Yeah.
I think it is like by the numbers, the better show. Like by the categories, by all the stuff, all around better show. But I'm very happy with The Expanse being the winner.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. All right, so leaves me. We got about 15, 20 minutes to get through this, so we'll make it quick. Honestly, this probably comes to no surprise to anyone seeing my final two matchups. First up, we have The Chosen going up against Ted Lasso, and honestly, you may not have thought this, but I did have a hard time picking between The Chosen and Peacemaker last round. I don't think any matchup.
I didn't gather that even remotely.
Yeah, we
I know,
pushed that
I
thing
did.
right through without
I did have a hard time because Peacemaker is a great show. I just think what The Chosen has done for that genre. Well, I already said my piece. But looking at the potential matchups that we could have had going up against The Chosen between Devs, Invincible, Ted Lasso, and Homecoming, maybe there could have been an argument for Devs or Homecoming. I don't quite see one for maybe for Invincible, but I don't think Ted Lasso has a strong argument against The Chosen. Do you guys have any input here?
No comment. Not even
Chad,
voting.
no comment.
Not even voting. It's going to be irrelevant, my vote. I could say whatever I want.
This is true. I mean, what do you think, Dad? Let's see if that vote's irrelevant.
No.
Well,
it's
tough
gonna
thing
be
is
relevant too.
the tough thing is nobody has seen Ted Lasso, and only Nick has seen 4 episodes of The Chosen. So it's hard, really, for any input, I would say.
I've seen clips of The Chosen.
I've seen clips of the actor from The Chosen in some new ridiculously stupid looking show where he's like a hippie or something.
No,
Yeah,
that was
that's
The
a
Chosen.
movie.
Is that
No,
The
no, no,
Chosen?
that's-
Is that like the modern
that's,
day take on it?
It's a movie. It's a movie
Yeah.
called Jesus Revolution.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. Oof.
Why is he in a
Was
show
that-
called Jesus
it
Revolution?
was
a
rough
He plays
trailer, brother.
Jesus.
It's a
It's a rough
movie.
trailer.
It's a true story.
Oh,
Anyways,
does he play
Nick, what's-
Jesus?
No, he
No,
plays a
he-
guy named
he-
Lonnie Frisbee.
He
Do
plays.
they
a
all
hippie.
drink Kool-Aid at the end of it? Not
No.
that true story? Okay.
No, definitely
That's
not
good,
that
at
true
least.
story.
I'm gonna go with the classic knock against comedies, where like comedies just are hard to hold up as like true like better shows over dramas or like real life based dramas. So I'll go with The Chosen on this one as well, and we can kind of just shuffle that on.
I will say, if it was a battle of mustaches, based on these pictures
Oh,
here,
dude, Ted has
Ted
by far
Ted,
the better
Ted's got the better.
Ted is rocking it. But yes, we'll move The Chosen along. And that leads us to our second matchup to set the Division Mike finals. And equally as much, this is a landslide in my opinion. We have the number 2 seed from Netflix, Arcane, going up against the number 6 seed from HBO Max, Barry. I love Barry, but I don't think it holds a candle to Arcane in quality, really in any category. But what say you, panel?
Arcane.
Arcane.
Any particular reasons other than we want to get the
Absolutely being
episode done?
No, it's absolutely groundbreaking. Whereas
Yeah.
like Barry's good, but it's not breaking ground over there.
Dude, Arcane just looks so cool. For a cartoon, yeah, it looks so cool.
Nice.
I
All
I
right,
think
well,
I think in a otherwise strong division here, I think Arcane is your show, your division winner for my book at least.
Oh,
It's not,
Yeah.
it's not looking like it's gonna go that way, but
I can
I'm
see
fucking
that.
trying.
Don't worry.
no,
I can see
Push
it.
it.
I
Don't
can
worry,
see that.
Chad.
next week is going to be incredibly tough.
I don't know that it should be, but
I think it will be.
Next week's gonna be easy peasy.
Man, so we got our division finals set here, guys. We have, hailing from Division Mike, The Chosen going up against Arcane, the number 1 and 2 seed, ironically enough, both from Netflix. Interesting. We have from Division Nick, Chernobyl going up against The Expanse, the number 1 seed from
Oh.
HBO Max, taking on the number
That's
10
wild.
seed from Amazon Prime. Over in Division Chad, holy crap, I scrolled way too far on this sheet. We have the number 9 seed from HBO Max, House of the Dragon, taking on the Mandalorian from Disney Plus coming at
Oh,
the number
man.
7 seed.
I'm
And
screwed.
this seems seeding wise very lopsided, but of course is not. We have the number 1 seed Severance from Apple TV Plus taking on the number 11 seed Stranger Things from Netflix coming out of Division Dad. Next week we will be laser focusing on these matchups. We will go through each category of the criteria and thoroughly dissect and analyze each series. Because the winners of these series will be moving on to the semifinals, the final 4, in which we have a change up of rules, which should make this a very interesting finale here in the last 2 rounds of the tournament here. Hans, let's tackle this question here. He says, why does everyone else have cool thing under their names, but Dad just has Dad under his name?
Keyword.
I fixed it.
Cool day.
Because Dad's just Dad. I mean, he's Dad. Yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. Everyone who's been hanging out in the comments, appreciate you. Everyone who just like slammed the round 2 poll in the matter of like 3 to 4 days. We got a lot of results and it was awesome. We very much appreciate that. We will have a poll for the Elite 8 coming out sometime maybe tomorrow or maybe at the beginning of next week. Again, the poll is going to act as our tiebreaker moving forward. Do you guys have any closing remarks you'd like to make before we head out of here? Any
Next week's gonna suck.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy next week, honestly.
Oh, Nick
Dude,
coming
yeah, I
in.
think you guys have pretty easy matchups, to be honest.
I think all 4 matchups are cake.
I think they're all really, I think they're all cakewalks.
cakewalks.
Yeah.
Well, hey, since we'll just obviously fly through the rounds next week, we could just take on, the Elite 8, the Elite 4, or the whatever Elite 8, Final 4, and Championship. We'll just do it all in one episode.
No, that last one's gonna be ridiculous. The champion round is
yes.
No decision will be made. Tie.
Tie.
Don't forget to subscribe, guys, so we can give this dang OLED switch away. But yeah, we hope to see you next week. Until then, have a good one.
I've come back with the milk.
I already know the championship round's gonna be.
Chad.
I think I got an idea, but I've been wrong.